last stage is what we're actually doing here today. Qualifiers already done. 15 teams made it here. Semi-finals, 35 teams made it here then. So we're obviously in the finals where all the money is to play for. If you weren't around yesterday, we had 6 fantastic games already. So they've already kind of set the leaderboards a little bit, and we're going to continue on day number 2 today with another 6 games. And whoever's at the top of the leaderboards after all of that is going to be crowned our champions.
And for the last time, in order to get up on those leaderboards, you need to make sure that you're securing some points. So placements more impactful than ever right now. Victory Royale is still going to be worth a nice 32 points for the teams that managed to find themselves in first. But each elimination, probably one of the most impactful parts because that is 2 points apiece. And for some of these duos, looking at Tayson and Chapik specifically, it can actually be a huge difference maker for surging up in those leaderboards. 36 and onwards, though, they get absolutely nothing. And if you get nothing, you're not going to be a part of that prize pool.
You know, Taco, so many of these duos, they will get something for making it here, but you know, you have a good point. They're aiming for that top spot. This is a breakdown of Just Europe. $300,000 for that duo that comes in first place, as well as an in-game trophy, the Axe of Champions 2.0. Now, don't forget, if you're hanging on, you've got yourself a favorite duo, maybe they're in last place, maybe they can jump all the way up to 10th. Keep cheering them on, okay? Look at that difference in prize money. It's so... I am just so excited to be here. But we're going to be talking about some duos. So first, let me go over here. See how I tricked you. You see?
That was
I know you guys have been hanging out. You've been watching. You're like, oh, he's going to do this. He's going to do that. Don't even worry about it. But I want to talk about, there's already some champions, Reese. Take a look. Asia, Oceania, Middle East already have champions crowned. So talk us through it.
Of course, yeah, Asia, first one. I was going to say first one finished. Middle East finished first, but it doesn't matter. Okay, Asia finished not first. Marem and Zagu, there's first-time champions now. They had 4 wins out of 12 games. That's kind of crazy.
Very dominating performance, I think, from this duo in the Asia region, and definitely excited to see what happens when they actually start to tango with some of the other international sides of the scene. And that brings us into Oceania with Alexa and Bailey KTF. I think that this duo as well, really standout performance.
Yeah, they were 10th at the end of day 1, and then they had clutched up big time, moving all the way up to first. Now, will we see that on EU? Not entirely sure because there's a bit bigger of a point disparity, but hey, clutches can happen, of course. And then our last champions have already been crowned Middle East, Halon and Rapid. Halon, now a 2-time FNCS champion. Rapid, I think now the first time. Apologies if I'm wrong about that, but crowned. And I'm sure they're going to be happy going forth, especially when we got some big events for the rest of the year.
That's right. So let's get a refresher. All right. How did day 1 end after 6 matches? We'll take a look at our leaderboard. You know, Reese, I think the thing that stands out to me the most, those top 4 duos, they just didn't move in that final game, which is, I feel like, pretty unheard of.
It's pretty unheard of. You point to it, right? That position on the far left, that's the delta, where they changed, and this is obviously coming into the final game. So between game 5 and 6 yesterday, those top 4 teams, stagnant. And that just shows how consistent they're being. And look at the point difference between them now because of that. 193 up top. Really close between second and third, and then a 28-point difference there between fourth, and then another, I think, 19-point jump off as well there, down to fifth. So the teams who are fourth and fifth, they're going to need to do a lot to catch up. Obviously, the teams down below that as well, because the top 3 are looking real strong to actually win out the whole day.
And it's even more insane when you factor in that Tayson and Chapik, they're in that 5th place position, but they didn't even have a top 10 finish at all yesterday. This is purely off the back of their elimination count. So I think that there is certainly a lot of ground to meet up for from some of these other teams. You can look at that pretty steep drop-off from 156 to 184, and even more so at that top 10 because you have 125 there for Thomas HD and Tripburn, but it's not an impossible feat. There's still 6 rounds to go.
And I got to say here, some of these duos are looking to come into day 2 stronger. You can already see Vino has changed his name to day 2. You know, Reese, some of these duos actually do perform better in day 2.
Yeah, and Queasy last season was a really good example of that. 41st. Oh, it was rough. 41st day number 1, and they clutched all the way up to 8th place overall on day number 2. So, you know, we're looking at this end of day number 1 leaderboard, and big changes can happen upcoming into day number 2 because those teams, they have that day to practice. They look in the VODs. They can figure out exactly what's gone wrong.
It's always nice to have that overnight analysis point for sure, but not only that, and kind of enunciating on that point for pressure there, Zeke, I think that some of these duos, they kind of thrive in that environment. They need that added element to make sure that there's really the hugest stakes possible, and I don't think it gets more impactful than this.
That's right. We want to flip on over here to take a look at 11th to 20th. Now, some of these duos can still strike that top 10, right? They have that potential. 6 games It's a lot more. It sounds like not a lot, but I'm telling you, it's a lot more than you think.
It is, and look, I'm sure if you've been following along FNCF, you've been following along with Fortnite for this season, last year, the year before that, you're going to be kind of shocked to see down in 20th place, Cammy and Seti. Not really performing that well at all. Off drop, they have a couple teams landing right next to them, shaking things up big time. They're usually fully uncontested. They've got no one surrounding them. They can do what they want. They've had their loot snatched, cut in half, and it's showing. This is the impact of this right now.
And when you see such a legendary duo finding themselves in the 20th place spot in a set lobby like this, that's just how you know exactly how stacked the competition really is with all of these teams. But also want to keep an eye out here for Refsguard and Clown, because they were kind of posing some issues there for Queasy and Bino on those last couple of rounds. So excited to see how things really shape up here.
They were disrupting, I can tell you that much.
That's right. We'll keep the conversation going. There's still so much more that we want to talk about, but first, you saw them in third place. Let me introduce you to one of these duos. It's in the lobby with Malibuca.
What's up, everyone? My name is Evan2K, and I am joined in the lobby by the one and only Malibuca. It's a pleasure to have you here with me, Malibuca. Of course, you have become one of my favorite players, and I'm sure a lot of the people watching are now very, very used to seeing you in the FNCS. What was sort of your early beginnings in Fortnite? How did you get into the game?
My brother said that there is a new game named Fortnite. We started to play it. Then, maybe in second chapter, I started to grind it every day with my friends.
How did you actually realize, though, that you were good enough to be a pro? What was that sort of moment like when you decided, I'm gonna be a competitive player?
It wasn't a moment. I was getting better and better and better. So actually, I can name a pro myself only right now, and I'm placed 4th in FNCS.
You and Mustache are playing with each other this season, and you guys have been, one of the best duos in the world, for a while now. Talk to me about your relationship with Mustache. Why do you guys work so well together?
Started playing from trios, and we playing already. I think that's the reason we playing for 14 months. We're playing really a lot of time together.
You've done very well in FNCSs before, but you're still yet to win, an FNCS. Is that the goal for you now, and how can you do that?
We just need to find our drop spot for this season and hopefully not get conned. We're playing late game, we're playing mid game, perfect. So we just need to be uncon on our drop spot.
Obviously, Malibuca, we know you are a monster in-game, right? In the server, you're one of the best there is in the world. But outside of the server, what do you like to do in your spare time? How do you like to wind down and relax when you're not playing Fortnite?
I like to play some fun games with my friends, to chill, maybe some customs. Fortnite customs, yeah.
So Malibuca's version of chilling and relaxing is actually playing the game even more. I love to hear that. That is the sort of mindset, the grind set that you need if you want to get to the top. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here with me in the lobby, Malibuca. Where can the people find you online?
Malibuca FN on Twitter and just Malibuca on Twitch.
Brilliant. Absolutely wonderful. Guys, it's been Levan2K and Malibuca here in the lobby. We will see you guys all very soon.
I'll always be appreciative to the players for just taking that little bit of time to hang out with us so we can get to know you. And of course, all of you at home can get to know them as well. And now we shift our attention back to the duos we'll be seeing compete today. This is a look at our first 25 and where they qualified from. But we have to start right there at the top in first place. It's Vadil, it's Janice. The duo that just, it doesn't matter what RNG throws their way. They just take that RNG, they make it what they want.
Absolutely. I've been so impressed with these guys this season. I didn't put them up in my top 5 of predictions, but I put them in my top 10. And Vadil right now has impressed me so much. So DreamHack doing super well there. Popping off. Probably yesterday, I think there was one game he had 8 elims by himself. That solo clutch to win out the game. His development of a player over this year has been so good to see.
And just in general, yesterday, they only had one game where they weren't in the top 10 position. It was actually 28th, but they were still finding at least one elimination per round, which, of course, is always going to factor into their point in there in the leaderboards. But also, I think with this duo, it's rather impactful that they haven't been contested, and yet they're still just making sure to stay on top of their builds management, stay on top of their surge management, and it just goes to show that they have really come into this very well prepped.
They have, and it's funny because, like, if you look at Vidil and Janus, I think earlier on when it would come to, like, middle of chapter 2, I would have said, like, these are guys who have to fight. Like, that was their strategy in mid-game. In particular, Vidil, not as much Janus. Like, they had to fight in order to manage to get basically a successful mid-game. Now, they choose to. They have the option to. They can play around that. They use that to their strength. And it's so good to see in a mid-game, just first moving a couple times, they get such a quick refresh, keep them moving throughout the endgame.
That's right. We want to talk about the next duo. Currently sitting in second place is Joe and Ziani. And I feel like, man, this duo just doesn't get enough recognition.
They don't, and they should, because they are currently second, very close behind first, and have put on an absolute performance for the entire of this season so far. 3 games. Where have they placed?
Second.
3 seconds.
Where are they now? In
Second.
second. My favorite part about this duo, though, at least from yesterday, I mean, aside from the absolutely insane clutch that we saw coming out of ZYANDY throughout one of those rounds, but it was more particularly the fact that ZYANDY, he's literally his own highlight reel. He's either making the highlight or being the highlight, but it's all in good fun because I think more importantly, if this duo can just smooth out some of those small details that were occurring to them in the late game circumstances, they were finding themselves ending in that second place position because, again, 3 rounds in second place is massive, especially when you factor in that they're playing against 49 of the other best duos that EU has to offer.
Absolutely, and in all honesty, I think they should be first right now. If you look at the way they've played, those 3 seconds that they've had, 2 of those were kind of chokes to win the games, which is obviously a big bump up in points as well. So it's like...
They know it.
They know it. They do know it as well. So, like, the leaderboard for these guys is so close. And I think when you look at them in comparison, like Vidil and Janus in first, the consistency they've had through all their matches, I think we're going to go a head-to-head battle game after game after game here.
Dude, I'm hoping to see that. Oh, I'm trying to contain my excitement.
Probably not now that I've said that, though.
Just breathe. Well, we've cast or cursed them. Another duo to 3-way, Vico and Jackson. I feel like for me, I've heard these names a lot, and now to kind of see them showing up here in the finals, like, that's a really good feeling for them.
Yeah, and if you've paid attention the last couple of seasons, you'll have seen these guys. They're the grinders. They've been putting in tons of work, and it's so good to see them perform in finals like they did in Chapter 3 Season 1. I think they were 7th, 8th, around that position. This season, not look so hot, right? And now it's seeming to all come together when it matters.
And you have to bring it back to the fact that, again, it was day 3 semis where we saw this duo manage to barely squeak on by because of the Kebab Boys finding that Victor Royale to actually push them up in the leaderboards. But here, they are the leaderboards. They are making sure to find the consistency where it matters most. But there are some instances where I do think we can still see a lot of that late game potential actually come to fruition here. So Vico and Jackson, certainly a duo to keep an eye out for.
I mean, they struggled off spawn a little bit because Hen and Savage are in their vicinity. So depending where the bus path goes, I saw one game, I think it was game number 2, where Jackson got beamed out the sky by Savage. Didn't even land, so there's nothing he can do there. So that's a rough game. Other ones, the ones that are being successful, a game where they've won, which was game 1, and game 5, where they came 4th. So the 2 good games they've had, they essentially took a bunch of mid-game fights where they had, I think, in, somewhere like 4th zone. I think they had like 4 elims or something like that. So they're set up so good. So I'm kind of looking for that trend with them now. Take some mid-game fights because they know they can win them. They're strong fighters. Keep themselves moving throughout the endgame.
Yeah, one last duo to talk about, man. Pink and Anas, veterans of the competitive scene, currently holding strong. I mean, Pink yesterday was just insane, man, putting up some of the craziest clutches we've ever seen.
He's an IGL, and he's out here fragging. He's got a background in it. He's got a background in fragging, so he's got a little bit of a course in it already, so you can show in that skills. And we'll see the clip in a second, but game number 2, that is probably one of the best solo clutches we've seen in a long time. In particular, if it ends up being relevant, right? If they end up winning the entire FNCS, plays like this are why.
It's just incredible, though, that one-man army that Pink has kind of showcased himself to be after yesterday's performance. And also, I find it really important to note that we did see a lot of those zones kind of pulling more towards that east end. You have to keep in mind that these guys are dropping in the Joneses, and the fact that they're not even trying to take advantage of the other duos that are in that south side. They could be looking for the third-party opportunity. They only did that once in the 6th round, and it didn't really make a difference for them. They were just finding this. They're finding their elims where they needed to throughout the mid-game, throughout the late game, and just the control of positioning and the cool, calm collectedness that we saw from them kind of showcases the real experience that we've been waiting to see from them.
Yeah, and I think during the qualifiers, they pushed down that way a lot, and as the kind of FNCS progressed, they've just stopped doing it. So like, we don't need grapple gloves, we don't need to fight you guys, we're good enough.
Yeah, we just know what we need to do to go ahead and lock up an FNCS title. No big deal. Let's talk about some of the head-to-head matchups. Come with me, my friends, on over to the screen. So, we like to kind of talk about this contested, uncontested, right? Contested means you got someone else landing at your drop spot. How do we handle these things? Let's talk about Tayson versus X Squeeze. Yesterday, we kind of discussed how we felt it would go, but Reese, did it go the way we anticipated?
No, I mean, I had X Squeeze set up to be a little bit closer on this. I would probably say personally 50-50, giving it and Tayson a little bit. Historically, we saw in the Cash Cup this week that X Squeeze was winning more of Spawn, but Tayson and Chappies have come in prepared 5-1.
Yeah, anytime you see two duos landing in the exact same spot, essentially, you'd expect it to be that 50-50. But for Tayson and Chapix, it was more like a 90-10. I mean, this is where you have to consider, I feel like, if you are PotisEye and Squeeze, relocating your spawn point, because they cannot have a repeat performance from yesterday. And based off of how everything kept going, I just don't realistically see them overtaking Tayson and Chapix in these early game instances.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of spots they can land. Like, PotisEye last season was in, I think, Coney Crossroads to the east of that. And then we also had, I think, X Squeeze landed at Kondo another time. So, like, they have other drop spots that they know and they can work with. But I don't know, they might just be better off here. Another drop spot that we want to look at, K-Duo in Chonkers Speedway. Now, this has just been like a 50-50 off spawn. North side, very Chonkers Speedway-esque. We've seen this every single season, every single finals, every single qualifier. Whatever it is in Chapter 3, we've seen the same thing. Right now, 4-2.
And the fact that K-Duo and Usefree are consistently finding the advantages here throughout this Chonkers take, again, you want to have the conversation for some of these duos. Okay, do we need to look to relocate? And it's tough because you look at the top four on the leaderboard as is, and you see a lot of these duos going uncontested, so you almost wonder if there is space for a duo like Destrud to actually work their way in to maybe find a little bit more success in that early game.
Yeah, we'll see. So far, the next one we've got up, Butterbloom. And that's going to be Frey. Good old Butterbloom going up against Shizo as well. 4-2, similar score that we've got here. Now, obviously, this is Frey's first FNCS Finals since Chapter 2, Season 2 Solo Invitational, so a long time ago. Yeah. He had high hopes. He's looked so good playing with Flixie this season, repeatedly over and over, but this is seeming like a tough battle for him off spawn.
And I think essentially for Frey and Flixie, though, they were a duo that really started to stand out throughout the opening segments of this FNCS, and I'm really excited because they just seem like they keep getting better and better with every single round that happens. And so I think that despite the fact that it's been a while since we've really seen them have a top-tier performance in the finals, I'm still really excited because of the fact that they just seem like a duo that can really surprise anybody.
Definitely.
We love to see it. So I believe, Reese, there's a couple things that you want to talk about, right?
Yeah,
going up against, we got 4ZR, we got Truelex. Once again, just kind of like the crazy 50-50s we anticipate, not quite going. Like, they're just making these games their own.
They are. And you know what's interesting when you mention 50-50s there? Because the two that Truelex has won was a 50-50. So when they're landing on this is in Rocky Reels, so they land on the kind of far up here on this north side, we saw Truelex and Chico winning it a lot more than when we saw 4ZR winning it. When 4ZR was winning it, they were drawing out the fights. They were taking more fair fights, but they would take so long that both teams just have nothing left by that point anyway.
And that's the issue, is because you have other company in the area, and when you know that there are other impactful duos that are going to be able to just not even essentially look for the third party, but it's just if you have no materials left, if you have no real ammo left or heals, you're just going to be stuck out in the middle of nowhere essentially.
You love to see it. Okay, Reese.
Yeah.
This is your favorite part.
It is.
Let's break it all down.
Okay, so let's have a look. So what we want to check out here is Malabuka Mustache. They started slow. They started kind of stinky. And because we're like big fans, and I'm sure a lot of people back home want to figure out what went wrong, right? So what we're going to see is game number 3 here. And this position, remember, they land just to the west of this, Loot Lake. And this spot is essentially just in the middle of the map. Look at the visibility they have. Pretty much minimal. They have to end up like kind of trading tags on teams that are really high up, and then they end up building up a little bit more, but still, they do not have a good visibility on players here. And the reason they don't have good visibility, straight up, they didn't have a good surge plan going into this. Malabuka and Mustache, they say themselves, we're not good at getting tags. We're not good at getting damage. We're not good at surge. We're just good at fighting.
And the other thing about this duo, too, is that we talk so much about the consistency that a lot of these EU duos are capable of, but I want to shift that conversation from Mustache and Malabuka to a conversation about adaptability. This duo, to me, I think, Reese, might be one of the most, if not the best duo at adapting inside of these pressure situations, because if you even go back to Chapter 3, Season 2, Mustache, Malabuka, they found back-to-back wins in the first round of qualifiers. And then that was essentially what pushed them into the finals. Okay, in the finals, they weren't first place, but they were second place back-to-back. And it was after that third round specifically. So they are taking time to analyze what is happening throughout those first 3 rounds and then taking that information and moving into the 4th, 5th, 6th, 4 strong performances.
So you've just seen what they did wrong. We know they adapt in the second half. So let's see exactly what they do end up doing. You can see Mustache Malbuka, rather than going into the mid-map over here in La La Land, where there's no one they can shoot, they stay up on their drop spot, look to the north, and then get a bunch of beams onto Queasy, picking up a bunch of damage, a bunch of tags. You can see the huge amount of space that they've got now. Because they're higher up, look at that, as it pans over the south, so much more visibility of all of the teams. And now you notice, even though they're only slightly above the Storm Surge on the right-hand side there, they're way more above. And this is, of course, just the end. We just skipped ahead here. This is the clutch up the Mustache had. So the lesson here was quickly they figured out this Storm Surge strategy isn't working. Let's get a new one. Let's fix it up. Now, what's this clip, you ask? The next game, they won 2 games in a row, and instead of getting a different Storm Surge position, this was a far zone for them. So they said, you know, we're going to fight someone. We're good at this. We know what we're going to play to, our strengths. And then, yet again, another crazy solo clutch from Malabuka this time instead. So these guys are adapting as tournaments go on, get better, understand the terrain, understand the players, understand what they need to do, and every single time, they're better in the second half.
And first time in finals as well, with those back-to-back wins.
Exactly. We don't mean to be critical, but we, like you said, we know these guys are fantastic, and that proves all of it. So, we got to do one last thing before we jump on that battle bus. It's talk predictions. So why don't we go ahead and bring in our in-game team? It's none other than Mini Miner, your in-game analyst, and your casters, Tokata and Levin2K. Gentlemen, welcome back to day 2 of the finals. It's great to have all of you here. This is it, Mini Miner. One final ride. Let's take a look at the standings. I want to get your thoughts on how you feel the day could go.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited, of course. Day number 2, it's where things start getting hot. The kitchen is heating up, if you like, but look at that. Top 4 teams, maybe even just top 3, could all walk home with the Axe of Champions today. I'm super excited to see which one of them is going to be because they're all top teams.
I love all these duos, too, in the top. I mean, you talked about it yourself, Mini, but we've seen so much come out of these players. The solo clutches from Malibuka, the 1 versus 3 from Z Andy. That was just one day, and we have a whole other day to unfold.
So good. Let's talk predictions. These are the duos we think could walk away with the Axe of Champions 2.0. The Deal and Janice, we've talked about them at length. Levin, I'd love to kind of hear about you and Queasy and Vino, because you and Minimine are kind of in the same boat. How are they performing, and how are you hoping to see them perform today?
Well, it was going really well for them, and of course they are still very high up in the standings, or sitting about 6th place. It started to go a bit off the rails for them, right? They had problems with specifically Resguard and Clown, which I'm sure they will look to try rectify today, but I'm still very confident about their chances. They're a top team.
You'll have to see it. Reese, where you at?
3rd place, Malabuka Mustache. I'm a happy man so far, I gotta say.
Listen, Thomas and Tripper, they keep leapfrogging the standings, and I'm excited to see how they activate under pressure, because they always do.
Look, Seti and Cammy is normally a day 1 duo, but it's opposite day. They're going to be a day 2 duo, and they're getting the comeback.
There you go. You have it. It's that time. It's what you've been waiting for. The last 6 games from the Chapter 3 Season 3 FNCS Finals. Buckle up. This is game number 7.
Game 7.
It feels like it's the first match of the tournament, but we're already halfway through. 6 games have been played out yesterday, 6 more to be played out today. The battle bus is already ready. The players are going to be dropping in. Let's get started.
We're hopping right into the action. 6 games yesterday, 6 games today, and at the end of it all, we will crown 2 players as the FNCS champions of this season. But who will it be? We've seen so much action take place all across the map, and plenty more to come.
Yesterday, we saw Tayson and Chapix 5-1 off spawn against Podosai and X-Sweeze. And will it continue to be in their favor? We'll see quickly, as Chapix is actually going to be the first one to go down, now leaving it all up to Tayson. He has to come out on top in the 1 versus 2 here if he wants to continue exerting the dominance. But no, the third party comes through. Podosai and X-Sweeze bump up that number to 5-2.
That is so rough for Tayson. He tried to go through the front of the building, come back round, and try and engage in a 1v2. But Malabuka and Mustache from across the pond were taking shots. They cracked his shields, and it just made it that much easier for Podosai to finish him off. Not the start that those two would have wanted.
we also have another duo that changed up their drop spots a little bit. We have Pochara here, which is getting contested at this gas station, and this is originally part of Seti and Cammy's loop path. So now with these two duos, Annie QB, Pochara Cherry, taking this engagement here, it kind of blocked off that loot from Seti and Cammy. So now I'm curious to see how these two players handle this engagement.
No, if you're looking at what's on the screen, it's not going too well for either team, you'd say. For Cherry, if you can get Pochara back up, that will go a long, long ways. And if you're QB, you want to stop that, but only a matter of seconds left, and now both players are up. And so I pretty much expect QB to go down at some point here, not working with much by way of shields or materials.
Oh.
So eventually, you're seeing a couple shots connecting. Will Cherry just look to build up now and finish off the deal? He could reach it with even his just 2 builds. Yep, he'll eventually go up now. He's not there.
Where did he go? He disappeared.
Below,
It's a ghost. This is in Cherry's favor, though. We can see from the 100 shield, 100 HP he's got, and his opponent not having much at all. Also, with his duo partner, Pochara, getting brought back up. All they really have to do is play together here. He could even take the 1 versus 1. But it's always safer if you have your partner, and there it is. Another Elim on the board, and they've taken over gas station in game number 7.
This is obviously going to be something that we see a lot of today in terms of those two teams fighting. Of course, like you alluded to earlier, Sakata, the big question will be how that affects Seti and Cammy in their pursuit of a comeback. A lot of loot limited for them. Force and Shizer over here towards Butterbarn, contesting Frey and Flixie. And look, Frey and Flixie, Frey specifically was getting incredibly emotional on socials after day 1 because he's not accustomed to being contested here. And even though he has a savior in Chico and Trulet's taken out his competitors, the Serbians will very much be looking to take them out as well. So Frey and Flixie still have plenty to do if they want to stay alive.
Only half full. Want to get out of here on a full stomach. But maybe with those 2 eliminations, they'll think it's enough for now as Trulex continues to look around his surroundings, find some minis, a little bit of extra shield. It does seem to be the only shield they have as he dropped it to Chicho. And they've decided that they're happy with that elimination. They're going to make themselves present elsewhere.
It's interesting, though, to see, right? Because if you're Shizo and Force, obviously, they weren't landing here for the majority of the season. They decided to contest for the FNC. Yes, you know, at what point do you decide maybe it's not worth it? We see teams contesting each other all around the map. And typically, right, the goal in mind is, look, if we win this spot, there is a lot to benefit from it. A lot of people would argue, even if you do win the off-spawn battle at Butterbarn, is it that much worth it, considering how much you have to put in and invest in via time, materials, resources, whatever it is? We'll see, because at the moment, there aren't really any winners from that off-spawn battle.
I mean, that's a good point. You also have POIs like the Rave Cave, which is the opposite of Butterbarn, right? There's so much loot there that you have sometimes more than 3 duos dropping there, 4 or even 5 duos contesting that single POI. So with the change in loot and the options and opportunities you get from your drop spot, sometimes it can be worth it to have that spot contested. But you have to be the duo that puts in enough preparation and work to come out on top. And another duo that's been contested, Yusri Kiduo, down in Chonkers Speedway. Already have 1 Elim on the board, but they want to make it 2. Gets the edits, gets the piece, and gets the shots. Kiduo, that was clean.
Kiduo and Yusri have been top-notch here at the Chonkers. They've made it look easy. And another example of a team that wasn't initially going to be landing here. Oh, Vanyak, of course, sleeping there.
Good night.
Good night to Vanyak.
Queasy and Vino, you talked about this yesterday, Levin. They love this hill by Shifty Shafts.
And we have not just Vino, it's Vino day 2, right? Clearly activating a whole new level, which is a scary sight for the rest of the lobby, right? Vino up in it a level, but I think the key for them will be trying to make up for the mistakes towards the end of day 1. They started off really hot. They were literally in first place at a certain point. And then they started to lose a couple fights in the mid against Rescard and Clown. Literally 2 back-to-back games where those 2 engaged on each other. And it led to Queasy and Vino falling in the standings. Can they start to rise back up? It's definitely going to be hard with some of the teams they're going to be facing, but never out of the realms of possibility for those 2.
It's always possible in Fortnite. As we look at a #1 duo, Janus and Vidil currently rotating from Greasy Grove, now closer to the Reality Falls. This is a spot on the map that is contested. Vortex, Hycris, Fakey, Fremont, they've been having a party there throughout all this FNCS, even the qualifiers. But for Janus and Vidil, having their spot uncontested just allows them to rotate out that much quicker and look for options.
For Jill and Janus, I think the big advantage they have sitting in first place is that their game plan is so set in stone. They have that clarity, they have that understanding, and there's not really going to be much that you can expect to change that would divert them from that. And so with that being said, you could argue, okay, so 11, does that mean they just win everything easy? Is it done? Should we just end here because they're going to win? Not necessarily, but the TVs are definitely setting up for them to hold on to their lead.
Looking back over at the Rave Cave, though, two duos going head-to-head, almost reaching the clouds. They're so high up currently. Sandgil, Loki, this duo's first FNCS finals, going against ADN and Hardfind. A difficult matchup. But from how this engagement looks, with so many builds already placed, so low on materials for both duos, seems like it's lasted a while and it's gotten to that point where it might not be too worth it to continue on, as Hardfind almost slipped twice now. It's okay, Hardfind, you can do it. There you go. As now they continue to look around for more angles.
Yeah, this battle here in the Rave Cave is one that can get really messy at times. Of course, that's the nature of Osborne battles, though, as a whole. And so, to sort of dissect and break down some of the things we've seen Osborne, we're going to bring in the one and only Mini Miner. Mini, talk to us. What's going down Osborne?
Cammy and Ceci. Now, we know their loot path has sort of been cut in half. We see Perchawa and Chari, of course, fighting against Tricked and QB. We can see that going on. And what I like about Cammy, you can see the loot. It's not that great. You know, he hasn't got the best loot anymore because all of that loot, or half of that loot, has been taken. You can see him trying to take as many shots as possible. But what I really like here is they actually disengage. They think, no, we're not going to take that free surge. We're going to prioritize positioning. And you can see right now, Cammy sat up on top of the hill just outside of Tilted Towers, building a huge base, and then actually giving that assault rifle to Seti, who's then able to get as many tags as he possibly can, putting them in a prime position to hopefully find a little bit more success.
Thank you so much, Mini. It really shows what these top-tier duos have done beforehand. They've made the preparation for if anything goes wrong regarding their drop spot, their early game, their mid game, their rotates. They always have a plan B. They always have something that they can do. So hopefully it's going to be enough to make a little bit of a comeback, as they did start off today a bit low. But for ADN and Hardfind, they found what they were looking for, the opportunity, the opening in that engagement, and it turned out in their favor.
We have a quick little update on them, which is nice. I think the big thing is, once you do finish off your fight, it's about having that peace of mind, right? Knowing we've got this over and done with, we can now go about our game. And of course, the damage that you deal obviously helps with Surge quite a bit as well. You see Cammy's set up in a base there looking to deal some damage for Surge. Trippin and Thomas, so a team on the rise, right? They didn't have the hottest of starts, had a couple problems off spawn. We saw this team splintered, apart, in many instances across the 6 games yesterday. And a lot of that was down to just sort of the off-spawn adventures of Rave Cave, as you'd call them.
It's all about being able to take those splinters out, though, and continue walking forwards as Vortexers and Bevies want to continue on with this engagement. It's Flixie close by. We saw the issues they had in the early game, now even to the mid game, having some more as Vortexers hits his shot, gets that. Seemed to be second elimination, so now both Frey and Flixie are down. And with 1 minute and 55 seconds for the zone, it's pulling north to the snowy area of the map. They have a long ways to go.
Yeah, that's a good thing for a lot of teams in the lobby who maybe need a bit of a pick-me-up as we head into this second day, right? The likes of, you know, the Queasy Venos of the world, maybe even Hydrop and Jurikis. I know you're not seeing too much from them. I'm sure Nebs and Marion will be very happy with that. We saw them based up on one of the hills up here. There are a lot of teams who certainly will be happy to start the day off with a North zone. But it's all good and well getting a favorable zone. It's about capitalizing off of that, making sure you actually take up the good positions there. Vico and Jackson have showed us that they have an understanding of good positions and they have an understanding of just how to make it to end games consistently and then popping off in them. They started off the day so hot yesterday. Can they repeat that again here? 39 above Search isn't comfortable, but as long as they're moving towards zone, there will be plenty of players around them that they can take shots at.
It's like a drop spot. You can get it uncontested, but if you aren't able to capitalize on having the uncontested drop spot by maximizing your loot path and preparing for your rotations ahead of time, you don't take the full advantage of it. But it looks like for Pablo and Swag, they have taken advantage of this as they put themselves in a nice position to get some shots. However, if it was higher up on the hill, they would have vision from the teams rotating in on the congested side. But for Belusi and Hijo, they've done exactly that. And hopefully, this could be the key from going from 126 below to above. But with only 20 seconds left until the zone closes and Storm Surge starts ticking, this duo, they're getting more and more stressed.
The big thing for this team is that we know when they make it to end games, the power they hold, they can pop off. We've seen them have so many top moments in those finishing moments of the game. Okay, Ziani, back to business for him. Picking up Reason, but no O'Reilly responds well. Jodo will have to clean through. And he won't even be able to. That South second place team down. No O'Reilly with 2 huge shots. And that's going to be very disruptive for the standings. We started off the day in a 3-horse race, but with Joe and Ziandi going down, it could slowly turn into a 2-horse one.
It looked like that was Joe and Ziandi's battle. But Noah picked them off one by one, taking them out on the battle bus back to the lobby. But for Seti and Cammy, although they've had some of the loot taken away, they have made it this far in the match already. But for Belusi and Hijo, we saw what issues they had earlier. They haven't been able to fix them. 206 below Storm Surge. They need to do something.
Yeah, they desperately need somebody to make themselves available to be shot, because they will not be able to out-heal this. No, Riley and Reason are actually behind them in the zone, and so if they don't block their backs, they might actually just get taken out really swiftly. Fortunately for them, though, No Riley and Reason using the ridge to rotate in, and so they don't have vision on them just yet. So you can see Hydra quickly moving his way towards where they are. I don't think he'll make it in time, though. He will not. He will fall. Belusi is still up. And he finds some berries that will get his HP back up. But again, look how much damage he needs to deal. This game is looking somewhat over for this team.
Eat your fruits, eat your vegetables, Belusi, but I don't know if they're going to be able to save you this time. For Reason and Noah, they're looking healthier than ever now. They've got those 2 eliminations from Joe and Ziandi. They've rotated back into the zone, and although it's closing and they're not in the next one, it's still looking a lot brighter than it was when they were battling in zone. 109 above. They could use more damage, but it's not the biggest worry on their minds currently as they continue to take shots from people while they're rotating. They need to find a way to get in, but to also get a bit of damage.
And the biggest worry is the fact that they don't have much by way of materials as well, right? Even when they do get into zone. Karma, though, causing some issues for Adian and Hardfire. Oh, dearie me. Making that one look slick and easy. Okay, Karma. Or Karma, sorry.
Fast Jokey and Kylie, 11 below, on the edge of the zone, but in a position where they should be able to find openings. You can see Kylie taking shots already. All the players now who have rotated in late are feeling the punishment from the ones who boxed up early, who might have had a drop spot on this north side of the map and more time to position themselves. And Belusi is not one of those. Almost 400 below now. He ate his fruits, he ate his vegetables, but it wasn't enough. He's going to have a lot of time to do that in the lobby now until the next match.
Easy pickings for the lobby, unfortunately, is what Belusi became. And if they continue to struggle with Surge today, their positioning on the leaderboard will quickly fall. So it's going to be about making sure that does not happen moving forward. Malibuca and Mustache, what's going to happen for them? We know the trials and tribulations they seem to face in competition, starting off slowly, figuring things out after game 3. They don't want to be doing that today, right? They just want to be on a roll from game 7 onwards.
Look, if they're able to get the Victory Royale starting today in game 7, that's technically, I mean, it is a back-to-back-to-back. They already got the back-to-back. But if they can start off today strong, they can make it 3. This could be history. And Fortnite competitive, but for Rajeel and Janice, looks like they've been able to make it in the zone with a lot of material still for 4th zone. Good shield to recuperate what they lost. For a first place duo, this is a sight you like to see.
Yeah, they're playing this well so far. Obviously, they'll be hoping for a favorable pull on that 5th zone, but if that does come through, this is setting up to be another game where they can start to increase their lead. Of course, we know Joe and Ziandi, who were in 2nd, have fallen. And even though Mustache and Malibuka aren't too far behind, a good game from Janice and Vidil will go a long, long way. For Hen and Mrs. Savage, they've got a long ways to go to get to zone, and a long ways to go to improve their position on the standings. But is that something you believe they can do, Takara?
I believe in this duo. They don't have to do a sprint here. They have a marathon to go to make it into the zone. But with the rotate I see here, a quick slide could be enough. Jerky and iDrop, though, they've spotted them. And once one duo spots you, you start building, start panicking. More duos look. It's going to use up more materials, but they should be able to make it in here pretty quick, pretty calmly. Go on top of the builds. And even if they get in, they'll be on the corner of the zone. So they'll have that chance to pull the 5th zone, the half in, half out, and be in a good position. Just like Pink and Anas. They continue to look for angles. As now, there's only 10 seconds left until that half in, half out zone appears. For the duos down below, depending on their loadout, only mobility item being the grapple gloves. They don't have them like Ardor and Mixon here. The zone does pull north. A majority of duos being on the south, having rotated from the congested side of zone, now have a long rotate to go. And especially seeing that the north side of the zone has high elevation, the duo's already boxed up. They're going to be taking free picks at these people that have to rotate still.
We got a replay here. Some limbs coming through potentially from Hellfire and Flois. That's exactly what's happening here. Look at this. Walls being taken. Aware and JJ2 being wiped out. Hellfire starting off the day with the hot hand.
Queasy and Vino now. There's a duo I'd love to see pop off in day 2. Even Vino's feeling the excitement. You mentioned it earlier. Vino day 2, hopefully going to be stronger than day 1 to get that top finish. They do have 0 elim so far, but the 200 above. I saw no shields for Vino, but the rotate begins.
Neither of them have shields, right? And that's going to be a big concern as they move forward, because neither of them are looking too good when it comes to HP. But Janice and Vidil, they have finally found their position in zone and even looking to reform. They really want to make sure they get into this end game with max materials. I'm loving how they're playing this. Uber efficient.
I'd make a bet that they have the most materials out of any duo this match, just from what I've seen. But Thomas and Tripburn, we talked about it before. They had some rough matches yesterday due to their early game. One of them getting picked off, having to go for the reboot, delaying the rotate, delaying the amount of resources they can get on the rotate. But now today, they might be able to make that recuperation. But for Pink, he's lost his duo partner in Nos. Pink yesterday, playing like a demon. Hopefully he's still awake, as he's going to have to make something happen here if he wants to secure a good amount of points.
Can he carry that form of yesterday into today? You'd certainly hope so. One of the best playmakers in Fortnite right now, even while leading his team. But as a solo, there is nobody to lead other than himself. He must go into this with the confidence and the courage to make plays happen still. For Kiduo and Yusri, all the confidence in the world when you sit above the lobby like this. They hold high ground, but can they continue to hold high ground?
We saw the success from this duo in the early game. Hopefully they can do the same in the late one, as now the rotates begin. 6th zone, first moving, pulling completely east, looking at Vino now. His duo partner, Queasy, cracked. No shields to work with, recuperating slowly but surely. A nice pick could be crucial here to get that Siphon 50 shield, 50 HP, but Malibuka down to only 1 HP. He's a tick away from going down. Merstash as well, no shield to work with. The pressure is on and the rotates have to continue.
They need to be careful because going down now would be catastrophic. It would be just what Janice and Vidil need to move and create a gap in the leaderboard. Malibuka and Merstash must survive, and that's exactly what they're looking to do, but they need to be careful. Up above the Queasy and Vino, they want to get back involved in things. They want to take height, but it's going to be a much more difficult thing to do when you have Kiduo and Yusri up above. They are forced down, but for how much longer?
9 builds for Vino. Queasy sure to have a similar amount. They do not have the resources needed to maintain that high ground, neither the shields. They need to find a refresh here, take an engagement that permits them to recuperate what they've lost. But for Thomas HD Tripburn, they have materials, they have shield, they have the loot needed to continue going strong in this match, and it looks like Merstash and Malibuka, they're on the same page.
Merstash and Malibuka finally regaining a bit of peace and serenity, but they are running low on resources. They will have to start connecting with shots soon, but we know how prominent they are as fighters. For everybody else in the lobby, similar goals in mind. We're seeing so many of these players so low, so scuffed. Flawless isn't working with much by way of HP or materials. Hen doesn't even have a teammate anymore, but he does have a grapple glove, and he is staying above, and he's barely staying alive. There's players on the other side of this wall. Does he know that it's Malibuka who's fallen? He's connecting with shots, but it's not enough to pick up an limb.
169 effective HP. He has what he needs, but he doesn't have the materials. He gets the crack onto Merstash, but he wants the full elimination as now he breaks in, gets into the box, but he's just one build away from connecting. He does. Merstash goes down. Now 3 for Hen, but he's looking for more.
Vico now trying to pick some up himself, and he will. High Chris gets taken out, and there's another player who he needs to be aware of. It's actually Jackson, who's now back in his box. They are together as one, and what can they do with 2 shotguns out? One of them will fall. It is Vico, but Jackson is there to recover.
Jackson alone now. It's all up to him. All the weight on his shoulders, but for Tripburn and Thomas, they have that weight split in 2. The duo is up. The chemistry is there, and they're looking to continue forwards, but on the high ground, it's still Kiduo. It's still Yusri. We still have the Titans, Janice and Vidil up. There's so much potential in this match.
And still in first place, Janice and Vidil. They remain together. They are looking strong, and they're looking up for height. They want to realize their opportunity. They know they can win this game. Not the most in terms of materials, but much more than some of their competitors. You're seeing the scuffed ones out here in the zone. It's Roban. He's trying his best to stay alive, but Janice and Vidil have a real opportunity on their hands here.
Taking the shots, hits the first one. It's not enough for a crack, though. We still have some players in the zone with the med mist, but for Janice and Vidil, they have to think of this zone. It looks like it has pulled back, though. They don't have that difficult change in elevation, but it goes straight down. This is actually super beneficial for the high ground duo, but Janice and Vidil now cleaning up down below. The players that don't have the loot, they go down.
It's super beneficial for them. They get to pick up all of the elims. Janice is the only name in the feed right now. They have gone off. It's now a 2v2 between the first place team and Kiduo and Yusri, who've done so well up to this point, but can they match the power levels of the German giants?
Janice and Vidil, it's up to what their next game plan is. Do they have the materials to take that 2 versus 2? It doesn't look like it. Vidil with 5 builds, Janice probably with only 6. They don't have the materials. They have to take the trades, the shots, and find that opening onto a player on the high ground to give them that effective HP advantage. It's all about hitting your shots here.
The burst assault rifles aren't making it easy for them to chop things down, and so it gives Yusri and Kiduo the time to pick their shots wisely. It now might just come down to this. The wood is going to be the ultimate factor. They know they can break it down, and that's what they will do. Kiduo will fall, but Vidil will connect, and so now Yusri has to do something, but he can't. He is no match. Vidil is that guy. Janice is there with him as well. These two are electric.
Janice and Vidil are on fire, not just today, but coming from yesterday in the first place spot to securing the first victory royale of day 2, game number 7. This duo is looking strong.
And still in first place, this duo. What a way to start the day and let all your competitors know exactly how you need to finish. We started in day 1, we want to finish in day 1, and a brilliant last couple shots here as well to win the game. game. They kept their cool, they kept their nerve, and they are rewarded for it. The victory out of game number 7 goes to Vidil and Janice.
Great job for this duo, but also Kiduo and his duo partner played it on height, secured an incredible amount of placement points. They almost had it uncontested from the amount of pressure they were putting on the duos down below. With the zone they got, both duos in the late game there, they're going to be happy.
Yeah, look at Kiduo and Yushi. They came from all the way at Chonkas, literally at the bottom of the map, as far as they could possibly go. They still had a phenomenal game, and so to see how that moves them up in the standings, we're going to send it to Zeke, Taco, and Reese.
Thank you guys so much. So, game 1 of the day, 7 overall of 12. Janice and Vidil. They start day 1, or rather game 1 of the day in first place. They end still holding that spot, Reese. So we kind of talked about this yesterday, that this is a duo that, like, it doesn't matter what circumstances they get put in, right? Materials, weapons, things they don't have, doesn't matter. They still come out and win.
And that's what's actually really impressive. Remember, they're in Greasy Grove, southwest of the map. This is a full north zone, max distance for them. And when they were in the 5th zone there, they had almost capped materials. They somehow did what teams who drop in this location can't do, and that is manage your materials up until that 5th zone.
And the best part about it for Giannis and Vidil is that they are actually the only duo out of that top 5 that actually stayed inside of the top 10 placements for round number 7 here, because everybody else, I believe Murstache and Malabuka, they came in just at 11th, but Tayson and Chapix, all these other duos, Joe and Ziandi, they fell relatively early on, so this is going to be a really nice stat pad for Giannis and Vidil on the leaderboards.
Yeah, it was pretty much just them being the only ones in moving zone, but look at that, actually. Wow. 237 for them up in first.
That is so insane, man. What a lead to develop here in the first game of day number 2, but we have to kind of turn our attention to everybody else, right? Murstache and Malabuka, this shark in the water, right? That's kind of not that far behind. If Vidil and Janice aren't careful, man, they're ready and they will strike.
It's a bit of a shame to see Joe and Ziandi drop so far that game as well. We saw a little bit of a 1v2 from Noah Rayleigh, I think it was, which is unfortunate. But Vico and Jackson there. Now, they started yesterday off really strong. Victory Royale in game number 1. And that was a home zone for them. And this now starting this day off good as well. If they keep this kind of performance up here, I think we're going to start to see them soar up into a top 5 consistently.
But this is the kind of potential that I think everybody knows Vico and Jackson are capable of. That's why it was so surprising to see this duo struggling as heavily as they were throughout semis. And so now that they found their opportunity to be here in the finals, they are making the full use of it. They have not really seemed to lose their grip on that top 10 positioning in the leaderboards, and I don't think they're planning on letting go anytime soon.
I bet this is like the best a team who's come last in the semifinals has ever done in the finals.
Wow.
That's a guess. I'll see the stats later on. I'll come back and I'll tell you what it's like later
That's
on.
like a pretty good guess.
Yeah, it's a good guess.
That's a pretty good one. We keep moving down the leaderboard. I mean, look at, like you said, Vico Jackson moving up the 4 places there. Tripper and Thomas HD as well, kind of putting in work. You know, the difficulty for the second day of competition is you get that time of reset, and you have to come back in and say, okay, yesterday doesn't matter. We need to kind of pop off today.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a perfect example of that. They were kind of all over the place yesterday when it came to Tripper and Thomas HD, and it didn't work out that well for them in a couple of those games. However, they've totally caught it back up.
That's right. You love to see it. Okay, Reese, you got another thing you want to break down for the viewers at home?
That I do, of course. I'm going to play a little game of what happens next. So if you little drop map here, we noticed that zone was a north zone, which is really important here. Now, a team that I want to pinpoint is actually Cammy and Seti. They're down here, okay? Now, what would you do if you were in this situation? There's 3 options. Do you go left and go across all these people? Remember, you probably don't know where these are. Do you go right, where there's a bunch of other players congested that side, or do you go through the middle? Now, if you're probably a less experienced person, go through the middle. But the problem with going through the water, of course, is the fact that there's all of these teams that have visibility on you rotate. You go left, you go into the hills where players will sit. You go over here, there's Coney Crossroads, which attracts a bunch of players. So what would you do? 1, 2, 3. You've had enough time to think about it. Okay, let's see what Cammy and Seti actually end up doing. It's basically some great map knowledge. They can go straight through the middle by using the little bus that's here. Bus? It's not a bus, it's a toilet. I'll figure out my general facilities later on. And that allows them basically just to cut that rotate straight in half. So just having a really good understanding of the map allows you to cut some of these rotates off fairly efficiently.
You know, you have to use the bus there.
The bus. Yeah. We're in Fortnite, man. Everything's a bus. We drop out of a bus. Like, you might as well do the special stuff in there too, you know?
Yeah, that's right. Now, remember, that was just the first game of the day. We have 5 more to go before we figure out how this all ends and who walks away with the Axe of Champions 2.0. It's the second game of the day. This is game number 8.
Game 8.
Game number 8, we are eerily getting closer and closer to the finish, and the players are starting to feel that pressure. Some are rising to the occasion, others need a bit more time to start getting warmed into things.
But there is more time, Levin. That's the good news. It's a 2-day tournament, 12 matches, and now from the off-spawn engagements we've seen, there's a little bit of turning of some tables going around the map. Tayson Chapix dominating day number 1, but now going down in the first match of day number 2. I'm curious to see if Podosai and XSwedes are going to continue that momentum forwards. And for our first place duo, Janice and Vidil, they're holding on to that crown. They do not want to let it fall off of their head as they've taken home game 7, which is game 1 of the day.
And look, if you're a team that is trying to catch up to these guys, you have to start hitting their level and even exceeding that, because they are not going to miss a beat. They are showing now really why they are one of the best teams in the land, in the world this season. And if they can continue to play like this, it's not going to be too long until we're crowning them the Axe of Champions.
They are on rhythm. But another duo that I'm curious to see how they're going to be playing out, it's Seti and Cammy. They got their loop path cut off. The battle bus is ready, though. They're going to be dropping in right now, so we'll get to see what's going on.
Let's hop right on in to game number 8, the second of the day. Who will be victorious off spawn is always the question in the earlier stages of the game. We know there are a lot of battles happening all across the map. The team we literally saw come second place in game 7 had to battle over at the Chonkers, but we're going to start on the other side of the map, all the way up north at Sleepy Sound. JJ2, and aware the nature of them landing means that they have visibility on the South Sleepy team, but let's get into Loot Lake. XSwedes has landed, and he has picked up Tayson. What can Chapix do? Not much right now. He eventually will fall. And so once again, the Frenchies are upsetting the apple cart here. They have won twice in a row.
What is going on today? 2-0 in day 2 for Podosai XSwedes. Total score 5-3 now for these two duos. This is more close to what Reese was saying might happen, a similar 50-50 off this early game, but there's still more matches to be played out. We'll take a look now at Flixie and Frey. There's another duo that has been having a bit of trouble in the early game. And last game, they were able to get out of their off-spawn engagement, but they got picked off later on during their rotate.
Yeah, they had some struggles here, and it hasn't been the most comfortable of things for that team fighting at Butter Barn against Shizo and Force. But it's one of those things where you have to just handle the cards that you're dealt. You cannot afford to just sulk and give up. There are still plenty of opportunities for them to move up, and even if you aren't a team that's fighting or in contention for first place, there is plenty of money to be made across all the different placements. What do we have here, though? That is not great for Annie. Annie and QB, they've decided to move away from the gas station near the middle of the map, and instantly going to be regretting it because they go down.
Annie is not okay after that quick engagement. As now we switch back over to Janice and Vidil. Remember, they do have Greasy Grove uncontested. But Flixie and Frey, we talked about it. They are contested, but they're finishing off their engagement so quickly that we switch over to them and they're already on top with 2 eliminations.
Flixie and Frey. Finally a little dub for the boys. I'm sure they'll be very happy. I don't think we have cams for those guys. If we do, I'd love to see their reaction. I'm sure it's I'm sure they're very emotive there. Flixie turning around.
Whoa.
360, not 360 degrees, 180 degrees and picking up that shot. Oh, very nice to see those guys win off spawn there. I'm sure they will be elated.
Those were some good shots from the 2-shot shotgun. I love these players making use of various different loadouts throughout the matches, and from the shots we saw being connected, I mean, that 2-shot can be dangerous. But Janice gone. He went down. Vidil was alone there. I want to see what happened. Let's see.
No.
No.
No. No. No. You hate to see it.
Oh, walked into the wrong campsite.
Destru and Sky Dude, they have now become the villains of this lobby, of this story. Because if Vidil is not able to get Janus back up, this could get real awkward and uncomfortable for the first place team. That is just the way. You hate that though, man.
That's crucial.
It's great if you're the team doing it. You know, hiding. You catch somebody out. You know, some poor sucker somewhere in a building, wherever they are. It's the best feeling. But if you are the poor sucker, then
the first place poor sucker, not too poor at all.
it's not great at all. It isn't. But we'll see whether Destru and Skydu now decide to aggress onto Vidil because they know he's a solo. That would, really take some courage.
I mean, that's the important part of preparing ahead of time. Destru and Skydune, they know which duos are dropping in their surroundings, and if they see on the feed that one of them goes down, it opens up opportunity.
Well, you have to remember, this was a team that was landing towards the Chonkers. They weren't landing here previously, and so they've moved, and that move's gone well for them. We'll see, though, because they do have a top team just around the corner from them. Ziandi and Joe have decided to get involved in the action, and they do have their eyes set on them. Ziandi very much aware of their position, and it looks like they're lining up a 3-2-1 that Skydune and Destru just have no idea about. Will they take the shots, though, is the question.
It's all about the timing, making sure you're on sync, on the same beat as your duo partner, so you can do the most amount of damage as quickly as possible. Will they do it? We'll have to find out later. As Jackson and Vico in the Tilted Towers, this is a duo that's been dropping south side tilted. Mr. Savage, Hen, they're north side tilted, but they do get into some engagement sometimes, especially if either Mr. Savage or Hen land first with a weapon that's more medium to long range and take some shots at Jackson or Vico while they're gliding down. It's what's permitted them to take some of these early game engagements off the start of the match, but for Jackson, just trying to get his medal up.
And rightfully so, right? It's going to be one of the keys of having a successful early game. One of the keys to having a good drop spot, right? Or picking a good drop spot. Picking a place where you have easy access to a lot of metal and fast. Trippin and Thomas clearly had plenty of access to metal, right? Max on materials there. And of course, the Rave Cave is very good for metal.
Vidil now in a situation that I wouldn't like to be in as a solo, but Vidil, with the confidence I'm seeing coming out from him, maybe he's ready for it.
Look, the way Vidil's been hitting shots this weekend, I wouldn't, bet against him in a 2v1 situation, but it certainly is a risky fight to take. Typically, you see players just avoiding the team that they need to deal with, looking to get the reboot card and then scurrying away. He is actively trying to engage in this battle.
Oh, and the edit comes through. The player going dangerously close to Vidil, but Vidil's ready. He's got his edits quick. His shot's connecting. That's one crack. Two players. He wants to knock one of them, make it an even fight. And so far, Vidil, he's done more damage in this engagement.
They're placing Armored Wall. They're scared of Vidil right now. They don't want to deal with him. Actually pressuring them. They're placing over Armored Wall.
Is there another
one? They don't want the smoke to Vidil right now. And I don't blame them. He's hitting shots for not much longer. Eventually falls into their sights. For a moment there, I did think it was possible. We've seen some crazy things happen so far this FNCS.
Oh.
But Vidil, unfortunately, will be watching this game from the sidelines, and that's huge. Our first-place team falling so early, it allows the likes of Malibuka Mustache, the likes of Joe and Ziandi, Pink and enough to really now start to push and close that gap.
Opens up that chance. It's like you said, Levin, for these duos that are up top of the leaderboard, but not yet with that crown on their head. And we're looking at one of them right now, Pink and Anas. They've got the materials, they've got the shield, and they're continuing on their rotate. We'll see here where the second zone pulls shortly. Still 55 seconds left until it closes. But for now, they've got to be careful of those Bush Bandits, as Wox has taken some shots.
Bush Bandits, that's a throwback. Not heard that one in a while. Pink and Anas, of course, a team who very much impressed yesterday, and I know they've been putting in a lot of work in that time in between yesterday and today to make sure that they are best prepared to try and surge an attempt for first place, of course, is the ultimate goal, but just getting any higher in this leaderboard is a success. We're reviewing every single game, looking at strategies for all different potential types of rotations. It's going to be the key to whether they're successful or not.
It's what you have to do to stay at the top and maintain Axe of Champions like Vino has on him. But looking at the zone right now, it has pulled to the southwest here. So these north teams, they have a long ways to go.
That's rough if you're Janice and Vidil seeing that zone pull while you're watching from the sidelines, because, of course, they're the team that lands Greasy Grove, and then the one game they don't actually get to play is the one game where the zone pulls exactly on their POI. Rough scenes. I'm sure they would have been betting on themselves to get a back-to-back victory royale, but in any case, they can just maybe pick up a couple in games to come. For Adian and Hardfan, we saw their struggles last game. Will it be more of the same? Vaniac nearby, not just on the map, but actually in the standings as well. 25th and 27th right by each other.
Let's take a replay, though. See how Hardfind and ADN were able to secure this, and oof. That's what we like to see. A good 3-2-1. Perfect timing from both ADN and Hardfind. Able to pick up that quick Elim and give them the upper hand in their engagement. And continue pushing if that's what they want to do. But for Seti and Cammy, Miniminer talked about this in the last match. They're all about positioning early and finding those tags on that ridge by Tilted Towers, that hill. And it might have... Looks like they might have already done that. So now that the zone has pulled more south, they're going to continue to rotate towards it.
Hydra and Belusi positioned up well. They struggled with Storm Surge last game. They literally went down as a result of it. Will this game be any different for them?
Will it be different? It depends on the route they choose. The congested side, the dead side. But I know that Miniminer, he has some info from Joe and Ziandi regarding the dead side.
I do indeed. Now, Joe and Ziandi, when they get a home zone like this, they're really, really good at getting to the dead side of the zone. We can see them using the wrist really, really well to go all the way over to the sort of Greasy Grove area. And unfortunately for them, they try to go for a little 3-2-1, and we caught up on this, where it was like, it didn't quite work out for them. You can see Joe, 3-2-1, doesn't quite work out. He misses all the shots. Not the best tags from Joe, unfortunately, but they do manage to recuperate some of those tags later on, which is absolutely vital, because when you're playing this less congested side of zone, you're not necessarily seeing as many people as you would on the congested side. You need to make the most of these tags. So hopefully this will be enough for them, but I want to see them being a little bit more proactive on this surge, because if they want to play well, they need it.
That was always going to be a big question for this team, and I think it's a question they answered incredibly well on day one. How do they deal with Surge? Of course, last season when they landed at Synapse, they were contested, and so they just won the off-spawn fights and went about their day. This time round, don't have that luxury, quote-unquote, and so having to get it in more creative ways.
But from Ryan Nebs here, Gripey, Cheatin, Podosai, JJ2 aware, all these duos right now on the lower end of the leaderboard. They're looking to make a comeback, looking to get a bigger piece of the pie in this day 2. We will have our crown champions of Chapter 3, Season 3 FNCS. But who will it be is the big question. Looking at all these duos now, rotating from north to south, it's going to make this edge of the zone by Pablo and Swag going to make it more congested. More duos are going to be there, and you can see just that, what it can cause as the shots are coming in. Did they make the right route? Did they take the correct one to get to zone? As they're 252 below, they want this congestion. They want the option to do these tags, but is it worth it?
Well, you ask whether or not they took the right path. I think the answer is right in front of your face. Down below, in the storm, struggling to get into zone. Clearly not the right path for this team. It's not where you want to be in this game. The shield keg will allow them to get their shields up and look for some trades along the way. But this is not where you want to be. 300 down below on Surge. They've not done any damage in this game. That's so much down below.
Ooh, just like Jackson has been shot down below. Now Nico as well, but he hit his shots. Looked like he almost even got a knock there. hit the shots, 37 above, has gotten the damage now. It looked dangerous, but you need to make those trades. It's okay to lose your shield. It's okay to lose your HP if you have the materials, the resources, better said, to recuperate what you've lost. And now, even though Vico is just on the borderline, he was able to recuperate his shield and continue taking shots.
What do we have here? Swag, Pablo, looking to get in, and to no avail. Queasy and Vina will happily take those 2 LMs. 2 of the easiest ones they'll get all day.
For Hydro and Belusi, it's not looking good at all. They did have a position, boxed up on a nice little ridge, had the vision, but it wasn't enough.
For a team that was in the top 10, to go down to Surge like that, 2 games in a row, not a good start to Car.
Not a good look. Not good looks at all. But Vico and Jackson, they're hitting good shots. 110 above. They've maintained where they want it to be. Mr. Savage and Hen, not as much above, but as long as you're above and you're on that borderline, if you're in a position where you have a lot of openings, a lot of chances, it's all about taking them. They do have shields as well and a good amount of resources. I'm excited to see what this duo can do.
What we know they can do is deal insane amount of damage. We know in fights they can completely roll through teams and make it look easy. The big thing for them yesterday was their ability to get to endgame. Started off very slow, but improved in that regard towards the back end of the day. We started seeing them deeper into the games, which is where we want to see them, right? Mr. Savage, an elite player, one of the players who's made almost every single FNCS in EU history. Hen, a literal FNCS duo champion this year. 2 top names, but it's about putting top performances up on the board.
That's what it's all about. And for Merstash and Malibuka, they've been doing more than that. From the solo clutches to the consistency of this duo, currently in the 2nd place spot. Now, with Janice and Vendil out of the match, this is a huge opportunity for this duo.
Yeah, this is everything you could possibly ask for if you're the 2nd place team chasing a team that is so dominant and strong. You want them to trip over one of the hurdles along the way to the finishing line. But if they do, you have to be there to capitalize. And so we will have eagle eyes on Malibuka and Merstash to see how they capitalize. For Thomas and Trippin, they've certainly been mounting a comeback. It's been very good to see the uphill battle they faced and how they've dealt with it so well. And it's been through hitting shots just like that one. 7th place now, but I would not be surprised if this game finished with them much higher.
The Danes are getting excited. You saw it. The quick note. They've been top 10 in the last 3 matches, including the last game from yesterday. From a rough start to what could be a strong finish from Thomas and Tripper. The light is shining bright for this duo. And Mr. Savage and Hen now, without a Hen and just a Savage, he's gonna have to make something happen.
This is a situation that Savage will not be unfamiliar with. This has been one of their problems as a team. The fact that we have rarely seen them as a team at times, having to play as individuals. Fortunately for them, they are 2 very strong individuals. But nevertheless, in this kind of a lobby, you are much better off with your teammate by your side. But let's see what Savage can do. Right now, his mission is to get to zone, and using these old builds to protect himself might be the way to go.
Get to zone, do some damage. A lot of tasks for Mr. Savage. But Pink and Anas, it's not about the task they have to do. It's about maintaining and thinking ahead. They're already in a position where they have a good amount of damage. But being 4th zone with 5th one coming to a close soon, it's about looking for these players that are rotating late. Find the possible elims, but also figure out what your path is going to be depending on where that zone closes ahead of time. So you don't have to spend as much time thinking about it. For Mixon and Ardor, with 4 elims already, this duo in 5th place is going to be feeling confident.
Let's see how he actually got these eliminations, right? Because it's no easy feat. It was Nebs and Mariah who he found. And yeah, he made a quick work of those 2. The big thing for this team though now is that even with the eliminations they have, they aren't looking too strong when it comes to materials, and shields literally don't have any spare shields at all. So let's see what they can actually do when it comes to taking on maybe stronger teams.
Stronger teams like Joe and Ziandi here.
Or Queasy and Veno.
Or Queasy and Veno. 4 elims on the board for this duo. You can see the quickness. They're feeling excited. This match in 7th place. It's a day 2 duo. They want to make something happen. We know how much they like staying up top, reaching for the stars, and if they're able to pull the zone, even if they don't pull it, pretty confident that this could be their match.
This has to be a game where they hold on to height and get a bunch of limbs along the way. We've seen them trying to take it so many different times and struggling to hold on, whether that be running out of mats, maybe lacking a bit of concentration and having it taken from them. Regardless of what it is, it can't happen again. This has to be the game for them. There won't be many people too eager to take it off of them. For Kylie and for Strokey, we saw them have a really nice game where they almost were able to win out the whole thing, come in 2nd place. But with what they're working with in terms of materials, it'll be very hard to replicate that kind of a performance. It will just be down to what they can do with their shotguns.
I also saw on the feed, Mr. Savage, playing as a solo, picked up an elimination. It could be what he needed from being below on Storm Surge, and not even in zone. They can continue that momentum forwards, but for DKS, the Siptos, they're looking great as well. Armored Walls, Matt's loot, but Hellfire on the contrary. Although he did get that elimination onto default, Flois, his duo partner has gone down. The rotate has to come through. He has the grapple glove, he has the Armored Walls, but he has to use all of his materials, his loot, to withstand the shots coming through, as he's not getting a chance to even pop a mini.
The lobby spray might just be too much for him to handle. Now that he's down to wood, they'll know he is weak, and so the sprays will not stop. He will be forced to get out and try and do everything he can to stay alive, but everything is not enough. He eventually will fall. But as you can see, things are really starting to shape up now in this game. The likes of Queasy and Venom still looking good on height. Joe and Ziandi aren't too far away. For Mr. Savage, a lonely solo, his job will just be to try and stay alive, barely above Surge. If he can just be inconspicuous, he can stay alive. But if he elevates himself up too much, he might get chopped out, almost happening right there.
I'm confident in Mr. Savage, especially as a solo. He's one of those players that can clutch it up. For Pink and Anas, they don't have to clutch it up as a solo. Both players up, incredible amount of damage, but on the far side of zone, the shots coming in from the players that have already rotated, it's going to be difficult to get in safely.
And that's just so low.
It looks like they're able to do it so low, and Nas taking the risky shots. I mean, he's 1 shot away, and he could get knocked down here, but he's feeling confident.
Anas literally has 1 build left, and not much by the way of HP. They need to take out Joe, and that's exactly what they'll do. Pink will connect with that one. But on the back of the zone, there is nowhere to hide. And so unfortunately for Pink, Anas will fall, and he just has to make use of this med mist. The zone actually pulling back will be a saving grace for Pink. But at the end of the day, it is looking really, really rough, and really rough for Ziandi as well, because obviously he did lose Joe. And so now as a solo, trying to do what he can, and actually missing a shot, that's not something I'll say too many times today for Ziandi.
Ziandi playing alone, Mr. Savage playing alone, Pink playing alone, but for the duo, Queasy and Veno, they've wanted high ground throughout this whole tournament. They've failed a lot of times trying to get it, but now in the match they have it. They are capitalizing on it. 5 elims from Veno already, 3 for Queasy. The dominance from above, showering down below. They are looking to take this one home, but Jackson, he's forced to play it slow. No materials, only a med mist in the zone, trying to find the correct entry back in.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump away from getting into the zone, and once he gets there, it is just about staying alive. For Seti, it will be very hard to stay alive. Cammy failed in that regard, but Seti barely just able to get above Malibuca and Mustache. These two are menaces here on low ground and dealing with another top team. Pink has still stayed alive. The big UK is trying his best, even without materials, to do anything in this game. Look how every team he jumped to Takata just has a player with no mat. Seti working with absolutely nothing as well. It is so hard for these players.
It's almost looking like solo efforts. Yes, as Seti connects a huge shot onto Mustache as he's gone down. Now Malibuca forced to clutch it out yet again as a solo.
Seti got his revenge, and that leaves Malibuca in an awkward predicament. What can he do now? He takes the place of the solo. Queasy and Veno carefully need to hold on to high ground because no Riley and Reason are hungry and they're gunning for it. And it's not looking good right now for Veno. Takes way too much damage there. And if he's not careful, he might go down. He doesn't have many builds. He needs to rely on Queasy to build for him. And eventually the supply kit will come through. The med mist and the extra mats will just keep him afloat.
The danger is on little tiny bits of materials to work with, but down below in the dirt, Skydune, Destru, they're hungry and they're looking to feast. They have 5 elims already. They want some more. The issue is no materials. That leaves Noah Riley and Reason here with the upper hand below, but they have to be careful as there still is that duo on high ground which are going to be taking shots.
Skydune and Destru need to be careful because it is 2 very angry Germans in front of them, but no! Malabuka eventually rolls through, hits a couple shots, and eventually those guys will fall. So much is happening right now on our screens. Queasy, though, is ready and waiting to close things out, and he does it in style. Queasy and Veno take game 8.
Double-digit 13 eliminations for Queasy and Veno. They've been looking to do it for so long. They wanted that high ground, and they got it and capitalized on it.
They have been waiting to have a game like this, and they took their chance so well. They almost lost high ground, let's not forget, right? You know, Riley and Reason made it very, very awkward at the end. But when they recovered well, and they win the game. Queasy, the one to hit the big shots. Not very often you'll see Queasy getting more LMs than Veno, but nevertheless, these two are on fire.
Look, I'm liking Veno predicting what he's looking to do. Day 2, Veno, and starting day 2 this strong, I think they're already in 3rd place, so this is huge for this duo.
This is exactly the kind of games you need to have to catch up. When the top teams maybe slip up a bit, if you have a couple games like that, you are well on your way to making this competition that much closer at the top. To break down all the standings, so we have the best of the best. It's Zeke, Taco, and Reese.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Fantastic. I cannot believe, you know, we talked about this at the top of the show, Taco. Veno changes his name to Day 2. Some of these duos are Day 2 teams, and they get themselves a 13 elim victory royale?
And the most important part about all of this as well is, if you guys remember from the standings that we just saw in the last round, there was about a 60-point disparity that had kind of taken place between 1st to 5th place and under, and now 58 points off of one round for Queasy and Veno. I don't think it gets better than this. They had so much control over the high ground, maintained it extraordinarily well. They had the builds that they needed to, and when they dropped from height, it was still very tactful, I believe, from Queasy and Veno.
I mean, honestly, I think Queasy's had some sort of anti-sickness pills because he's looking like a whole new man. He's a different person at this point. 8 eliminations for Queasy by himself. I can't remember the last time I saw Queasy with more than 3, and now we've seen him 8. Like, this is a Veno play. He's got definitely a Day 2 in him. You know, we've obviously seen Veno representing the Day 2 gang, but Queasy's been there. He's done it before, and he's showing why he can fly right up those leaderboards.
There's something about IG Yells just deciding that they want to take over the fragging position. And
yeah.
I mean, but this is the time to step up. If you are going to make any sort of kind of life-changing decision, this is the time to do it, because we have the defending FNCS champion there with Veno, and now for Queasy, it is so tight in this top 3.
5 places. 5 places, Reese.
That's
now
big.
They are looking to defend that title. This is absolutely insane, but Murstache and Malabuka, they take over from that game, and it's all because of that little exchange for Vidil and Janice, man.
Exactly. We'll come to the Vidil and Janice exchange in a little bit, but the Malabuka and Murstache clutch was so good. Of course, we saw that Murstache ended up going down a little bit earlier, a little bit too aggressive, but Malabuka still clutched up. Got those crucial couple other placement points, which just kind of slithered them over that threshold, right? Across 12 games, small plays like that, a couple placement thresholds adds up a lot when you multiply it by 12.
And there's a reason Malabuka and Murstache are known for being a low ground priority team, and I think that this game is a primary example of it. Just the control seems so effortless here from Malabuka. He just knew exactly how to move around a lot of those boxing positionings to make sure that he wasn't putting himself in a spot where it'd be easy to pick him off, even though, because he was probably aware of Queasy and Veno on the high ground as well.
You know, as soon as I see like Malabuka as a solo, I'm just like, I'm ready for
He's
this win.
basically a duo.
He's gonna win. I'm sure he's gonna win. So now that he didn't and clutch up, I'm like, come on, man. I know you got more in you than that.
Yeah, that's right. We do also take a look at Thomas HD Trippin in 8th place. They did have that one play, but still isn't quite enough. Like, they still need a little bit more in the tank to kind of get them up the leaderboard.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that at the start of this game, we're just going to see that consistency from them. Like, we're going to start to see top 10 game after game after game. And I said, right in the green room behind the side, I said, you know what? These guys, they're going to get 3rd overall today. You know, I've seen it. 3rd the last 3 FNCS for Thomas. And this game here is a little bit unfortunate in terms of, like, getting up to that part of placement. Now they've dropped down to 8th, and they need to start catching up again in these next few matches.
But again, this is a duo that I think really prioritizes performance under pressure. They haven't necessarily found their stride quite yet, but it's still, I think, important to note that Thomas and Trippin definitely seem like they're working together on the same page, and I think it says a lot when a duo can kind of maintain confidence in each other.
And here's the thing, like, the tournament's not over yet by any means, but I can tell you right now, Thomas HD is not happy that he's not in first. He's a first or nothing. If you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby kind of man. So for him, like, I saw a tweet about, I think there was people complaining, oh, you won $150,000 at another event, like, why are you not happy? But the reason was he's not happy is because he was in first. You know, he's a competitor. If you're not first, you're last. So for him being in 8th right now, like, I know this is a hit, and hopefully across these next few games, they can use that energy to surge himself back up.
That's right. Now, let's double back. We watched Vidil and Janus pick up the first Victory Royale on the day. But there was, we saw it there in game, a little bit of a hiccup there.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate circumstance for Janus, of course. Not paying attention. Well, I don't want to say not paying attention. You can't say not paying attention.
Man?
Well, this is the thing, right? When you have large splits like this in your drop spot, he's way away from Vidil. It opens you up for opportunities to be taken advantage of. Usually this happens to Cammy and Seti instead, because they have a large split in the early game. This happens season after season. I was waiting for it to happen with them, but their drop spot's a little bit different now. Unfortunately now, people have been VOD reviewing the first place teams with the fact that it was a day yesterday, and that's going to be the result.
Can't get lulled into a false sense of security. No corners are safe. That is the primary message that I think has been established here for Janus and Vidil.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh, it's just, you know, now of course they're not going to allow this to happen again, right? It was his...
We'll see.
I guess we'll see. What? That is okay. Just 2 games. We don't have to worry just yet, right? We have another 4 ahead of us, and I'm sure they won't make that mistake again. They'll be a little bit more mindful. I mean, okay, I guess I'm just more surprised.
Sure? I hope not. I hope not.
Yeah, we have to hope, but that's okay. It's time to find out because the 3rd game on the day is ready for us. This is game 9 overall. Let's do this.
Game 9.
Will Queasy and Vino be able to continue their momentum forwards? Will Janus and Vidil be able to make it off of their drop spot this match? And will Tayson and Chapix be able to come out on top in the early game? So many storylines to follow. We're in day 2. These are the last moments of the FNCS.
There's not many more opportunities for you to start rising in the standings. You have to start making it count now. And if you are one of the teams that is very high up and you like where you're currently sitting, you can't afford to mess up. There are such fine margins on this stage, and we're seeing that. Players slipping up just the tiniest of a bit, and it's costing them.
The littlest mistake can be devastating to your placement on the leaderboard, but it's all about overcoming that, you know, wiping it out of your mind, keeping the mentality at an all-time high, because that is what is very important in these long tournaments. You have to be able to go to bed, wake up, and stay at the top. Keep playing to the best of your ability. You heard the beep beep. The bus is ready. The players, they're dropping.
We have game number 9 on the way. A chance for all of these players to make a change. And as we head into all of the off-spawn battles, let us know who you think is going to win off-spawn, who you're supporting, and who you think will leave today with the axe of champions. For Noah Riley and Reason, they are looking to take some shots at their good friends over at Greasy Grove. And a lot of damage being done there, actually.
Ooh, it looked like
the deal almost went down there.
One shot away, and that would have been the end of the deal. Not completely, but for Tayson and Chapix, this is it once again. But Tayson is unable to pick up his weapon, and so does Chapix. Both players losing the 50-50 and going down in less than a millisecond.
3 games in a row, Xwiz and Podosite have won here off spawn. This is tragic for Tayson and Chapix. This is quite literally the worst possible thing that could have happened for them, but the best thing ever for the Frenchies. Xwiz and Podesai will be elated. They will be so happy, because yesterday, this is how it went for them, right? They lost literally 4 times in a row until they finally won off spawn once. This time round, though, 3 in a row. Such a good spot to be in. As we switch gears to Rave Cave, Thomas HD actually is missing a friend, and that friend is Trippin, who is currently watching and hoping his Danish compatriot will be able to win against what is a couple different teams here. This is something we saw, though, Takata, yesterday. There were a couple games where one of these two would go down at the Rave Cave, and it's happening here again in day 2.
It's giving me deja vu. They were looking so strong in the last match before it went downhill. It looked like a bit of a bright light shining through the doorway, but now with Trippern gone down, Thomas is gonna have to figure out a way to bring him back into the match. It's gonna delay their rotate. It's gonna delay the amount of time they have to gather their materials, their resources. But they can make anything happen. It's Thomas, it's Trippern. We'll see what they can do. But for Malibuca and Merstache, the engagement ended so quickly between Chapix, Tayson, and Podesai Xwiz that they don't really feel the need to have a third party. They're just going to continue doing what they've been doing. They are in first place. This isn't the time to make those big changes.
It's not really much of a big change for them. We know they like to third party that. It's more so they didn't get the opportunity to. It went down so quickly, right? We know they like to set up, pick up weapons, and take some shots in that direction, but with just how fast the fight ended, there wasn't that opportunity there. This is interesting, because here at Coney Crossroads, I expect to see Andalex and Snazy. But right now I'm seeing T-Chips and Artskill, and in the feed earlier, if you've been paying attention to the feed, I actually saw Snazy go down to Seti, I believe, or Cammy, one of the two. So clearly, again, we're seeing some of the switch-ups all around the map in terms of how things are playing out. Always one of those things that's hard to follow, but we'll do our best to keep you updated on that. Something that's not changed, though, Takata, is Tilted Towers. Jackson and Vico are here, as well as Hen and Mr. Savage.
And another thing that hasn't changed, High Chris Vortex, Fremok Fakey. We just saw that engagement. It's a duo that's been battling for a while, but let's see what happened at the Coney Crossroads. You mentioned it on the feed. There's Andalex. He gets
Oh my goodness.
annihilated by Artskill with that Stinger SMG. Absolutely lasered.
I wondered how Snazy actually was so separate from Seti, or from Andalex, sorry, because he went down to one of Cammy and Seti, and he was nowhere to be seen there in that replay. So clearly, regardless of what happened, clearly things aren't looking good for the Frenchies right now. They are having their fair share of issues.
Also just saw by the Greasy Grove, Janice Vidil had no O'Reilly and Reason quite close by, taking some shots, doing a bit of damage, but nothing to be too worried about yet. And for Strokey and Kylie, they're pretty relaxed here. Good amount of loot, shield keg, chug splashes, farming up their resources. You can see the focus in Kylie's eyes. Headband is on. He's in game mode.
Are you doing a drip check right now? Rating all of his accessories?
You know, it's FNCS Day 11. Gotta be feeling classy, feeling iced up. For Seti and Cammy, they've been having some mix-ups in their early game, but it seems like they found a balance. But is it a balance that has enough loot and resources for them to have strong late games?
Now I'm even more confused, because neither Cammy or Seti do have an elim. Maybe they did just get the finish off on Snazy. Maybe that's what it was. But either way, those two are hopefully going to be getting back to their best. We know they've had some issues in terms of the nature of their drop. A lot of the loot that they typically would have had to themselves got claimed, and so that caused them some issues. Over here at the Rave Cave, though, Thomas is having a lot of issues. Marine and Nebs giving him problems and chasing him down. This is a fight I've actually seen between these two quite a bit this season. Marine and Thomas both landing towards the Rave Cave area in solos, and so they've had a fair share of battles and obviously in duos as well. They've had to interact, and when they have, I wouldn't say it's always gone in their favor, but right now it certainly is. Thomas is taken out.
Going against both Nebs and Marine, though, that was a very difficult fight for Thomas to end up on the upper end of, but I mean, there is more matches for this duo, and we'll have to see if they can find a way to come back out on top.
The big problem for that team, though, is that they are in pursuit of what was going to be quite an impressive comeback. They were on the rise, and so to have a bit of a hiccup like that one is awful for them in terms of momentum. Will they be able to regain their valuable third-place slot that they've held on to all year so dearly? Or will it be the first of poor performances that we've not been accustomed to seeing from that team? I certainly hope it's the former and not the latter, but you never really know in the FNCS, right?
You never know. But what I do know is that Vico and Jackson here, close to Hydro and Belusi, I feel like they're trying to sniff something out here. We saw Mr. Savage and Hen. They're on the hill that normally Seti and Cammy like to be positioned on to look for tags, look for shots. Both duos looking at the same angles, but Hydro and Belusi now playing it slow. They know Vico's there. They can see him through the break, through the cracks. No shotgun for Hydro, though. So it's more an SMG get-in type play instead of get a big shot with the shotgun, as Belusi has already lost a bit of shield.
Hydro and Belusi, 2 games in a row today. They have went down to Surge. They have struggled to do enough damage, and they have struggled to make it into endgame. They currently sit in 11th, but this is a team that was quite literally in the top 10 to start the day. They were sat around 7th place. And so to see them in 11th is not good at all. It's been a lack of continuity. Almost forgot to speak English for a second.
Look, it's okay if you forget how to speak English. If Vico and Jackson don't forget how to take these engagements and come out on top as they continue to just kind of peek around. I don't see too much aggression, though. Both duos seem pretty relaxed here. Vico trying to see if he can chop down his opponents to create an opening. However, Jackson's so far down below that Vico shouldn't be taking any big engagements here, being so split from his duo partner.
Well, Jackson's trying to chop the whole thing in, so Vico's trying to keep them up there occupied. You can see he is breaking everything out, and Vico's doing a great job of keeping Hydro and Belusi up there. They have no clue right now that it's being chopped, and I think now they might be starting to get an idea, but will it be too late? I don't know what's happened here. Okay, Vico's dropped down into the bush, and they're still staying very, very high up. Jackson wasn't able to chop it out, and so now they will start to drop it. He finally does chop it, but it is a bit too late.
No, it's not. Belusi goes down from the drop. He got one, now giving them the advantage in the 1 versus 2. Vico and Jackson, it took a while, but it seems to have worked, and now it's caused vision from other players that are far to take shots as well. And now with Hydro being the last man standing of the duo, he's forced to try and get out of the situation.
Hydro and Belusi have been so off the mark so far today. We always talk about this with teams, right? If you have a really good day 1, can you keep that momentum rolling into day 2? So far, this team has not been able to do that.
It's difficult. It's what you need to do, though, to stay on top. It's easier said than done. But for Dissiptos and DKS, being in the top 10, they could maintain a bit of consistency throughout these next matches. They could bump themselves up significantly. But for now, they seem to be playing it by the books, trying to get a bit of damage.
DKS and Dissiptos currently in the top 10. We saw them have some nice plays yesterday. DKS had a crazy clutch in one of the games in day 1. It hasn't quite been that easy of a road for them. Queasy and Vino haven't had the easiest of roads, but certainly looking on the up. And so if they want to continue to be successful, they're going to have to keep on having the highs. So Mini, what's going to be the key? We're going to bring you in. What's the key to these guys staying so high in the standings?
course, off the back of a really, really good game, Queasy and Vino. We can see them having very, very similar loadouts, if not exactly the same right here for both of these players. Able to carry as many heals as possible, and as we just saw them, they're in a good position. They're in the center of the zone, looking for those Storm Surge tags. Now, something a little bit interesting. Janus, he went down at these little chug splash chests before. Look how careful he's being now. He's not taking any chances. He's building. He's being extra careful. He's got his shotgun out. He's making sure that no other players are lurking. He, of course, benefits from this by getting those chug splashes as well. But this is something that we noticed because I thought it was absolutely hilarious. He's really, 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 really careful because, look, he doesn't want that to happen again. He wants to stay alive, he wants to do well, and he wants to stay on top.
Look, learn from your mistakes. Janus took this very seriously. I'm sure Janus is never going to look at a campfire or a tent, the same ever again. He's going to be checking those tents even in real life, making sure there's not an opponent waiting for him. As now Janus and Vidil continue to rotate through. Not been picked off early. Luckily, they still have so many points that they're up top on the leaderboard. It hasn't impacted them as heavily as it could have, as now Xwiz and Podosai continue to find those shots after coming out on top 3 times in a row in the early game against Tayson and Chapix.
And no other team has done that so far, which is quite impressive. But of course, these guys are sort of put into a hybrid chamber together. It's like a pocket dimension, right? They're just separate from the rest of the lobby, just constantly battling out at each other towards the north of Loot Lake.
Goes for the Siptos and DKS. From the tranquility earlier on to now the aggression, the fire within these two players. They continue to push forwards like a train going through these builds, trying to find a place to stop as Clown now takes the peak. Unable to connect the big shot, though. They already have one knock. And as the zone closes, it's not too far away. There isn't too much danger to make it back into zone for this duo as they continue to pop the chug splashes, make sure they have a good amount of shield HP, and decide now, is it worth it to try and take out Clown, or should they just rotate into zone?
Well, the decision's been made. They pick up Clown, and that damage will put them above the threshold for Surge. 40 above, that is. They do have the shields to get themselves back up to a healthy HP point once they're in the zone. So, nice work there to get that fight over and done with. But Janus and Vidil, they do have quite a ways to go, and a couple teams that will be rotating side by side them. Let's see when exactly they decide to start moving. That will be key to how successful they are in getting to the zone.
And then Mr. Savage being down below. They have been playing it pretty passive from Tilted Towers, even though the south side is taken by Vico Jackson. Haven't seen a lot of clashing between these two duos here in day 2. Sees the Andy in the feed taking out the Siptos as well. We saw how that engagement was going earlier on, but being 270 above for Mr. Savage and Hen, it allows them to be a lot more focused on their correct route to the zone here, as it has pulled a ways away. And now as we switch back over to Joe and Ziandi, coming from those 2 eliminations they've secured, even though they have 640 damage, even though they already have a couple eliminations, they know DKS is alone, and they want to capitalize on it.
Joe and Ziandi are 2 very difficult players to fight. And this is exactly why they just come at you from different sides, and they make things so hard. And they'll eventually take him out, but now they need to be careful because there's a team chasing their tail. The armored walls gives them a bit of time. But Hellfire and Flois almost were able to capitalize. That almost got scary for them.
It got scary for them. Almost got dangerous as they now have a bit of freedom to rotate in due to the zone being a bit of a ways away. So Flois and Hellfire are going to focus on rotating first, and then they can look back and try and hold Ziandi and Joe if they feel the need to. But Joe and Ziandi are taking 2 separate paths, which is a little interesting to me. Hopefully they can find a way to regroup, as Ziandi now has to cross this lake. But he's using so many materials, and with only 37 HP, it's not looking good.
Yeah, he has to use so many. There were so many irons on him, people taking shots. He needed to guarantee his safety, especially with how low his HP was. It's always worth using your materials in situations like that. You'd rather stay in the game and be low materials than save your mats and go down.
Now thinking of Nas. 47 above the zone. Not looking to be on their side. Pulling all the way north. The Coney Crossroads. They're going to look for damage, and then also in the meantime, an option for a path to zone. But Vortexers, Bevies, connecting the shots you need to connect. Still 36 below, but now with these 2 eliminations, if they're able to secure them, it could be what they need to stay on top. They've already knocked down Reason. Noah now, last one standing. Will they be able to kick him down and finish this off as Bevies gets cracked now? Noah, we know how mechanically confident this player is, even if they're having not the best of seasons. We know that this is a strong duo, and Noah is definitely a player that can come out on top in a 1 versus 2, but now Vortexers, Bevies, they want to force this engagement.
To be fair to Noah, he's done well to drag this fight on as long as he possibly has. But I would expect them to win this fight, and they are making things a bit dicey here, I'm not gonna lie. He's doing a great job right now, Noah is. Bevi's literally down to 1 HP. 1!
Just 1. But 1 is enough to still be standing. As Vortexers now grouped up with Bevies. They have to figure out the rotate. The zone is closing.
He's dropping the bandies in the big pot.
Doing what they can to make it. Noah taking a different route. Trying to be a bit more careful here. As now the rotate comes through. It's all about blocking your line of sight from the duos that are already in zone. Looking back at them. And Janus and Vidil, the #1 duo, only 51 above in a position that they're not yet in zone. Players taking shots. Janus getting hit. This could quickly turn into a crucial, a devastating position to be in.
We saw how they struggled last game, and so it's really on them to make sure that this is a good one. If they aren't able to start getting back into top shape, things are going to start looking real close in the standings, and that's far from what they want. Joe, all alone, with not really much to work with. Look at those materials. Look at the HP. Oof. He is going to have to do a lot, and more than a lot, if he has any real chance of having an impact.
Oh, no.
Malabuka.
Look at this.
This is going to be such a key game for them. They have a chance to really start to build a gap if Janus and Vidil can't hold on. Both of these teams neck and neck right now.
Tied on the leaderboard for first place. Both of these duos beside each other on the map. This is so dangerous. If they take an engagement, and it looks like they're going to do so, Merstash, he's found Vidil. Vidil is low on shield, but they do not want to take too much of a risk here. They have the shield kegs running. They're recuperating shield. They can take shots. They can trade. They can do everything they need to do a bit of damage, as now the players continuing to make their way to zone. Janus and Vidil finding a nice route, using their opponent's builds, using the natural mobility for cover with still 82 builds. They're looking strong.
If those two teams would have fought there, that would have been monumental. It would be possibly a tournament-deciding fight with the way things have been going down. Vienna and Queasy aren't too far away either, so we have all of the best teams in the lobby right now really going at each other. And although Joe would love to be involved in that battle, in that party, without Ziandi, there isn't really much he's going to be able to do. Of course, we saw Ziandi do some crazy things yesterday alone, and Joe is a crazy player within his own right. But it's going to be real hard, especially in this zone of all these players positioned how they are.
Queasy and Vino. I'm excited to see if they're able to pull something off up above in the clouds again. But to get there, the end game has to begin. In 5th zone already, 1st zone pulling. Seem to be more to the north. As now those duos, they're already based up around the Daily Bugle. This is a dangerous zone, Levin. The changes in elevation around Daily Bugle, they're nothing to joke about.
It's going to be real awkward for teams that aren't able to get ahead and quickly find positions as the zone moves. You want to make sure you are proactive in that sense, and along the way you might find some other teams with the same ideas in mind, and if that does happen, you do have to start taking shots, and Hellfire and Flawless are well aware of that one. They almost ran into a lick of trouble. Penno, what are you doing, my friend? I don't think this vehicle's going to be the way. Almost losing all of his HP, and in fact losing practically all of it, down to just 15. And Queasy's having some struggles himself, but now the journey back into zone will continue.
Vino, Queasy, be careful. So low, Malibuca and Merstash, though. They have the HP, they have the shield, but down below, walking through the mud, those players up above having the opportunity to take those free shots, but a quick box from Malibuca. Flawless is flowing himself back into the lobby as now Janus has lost the deal. The #1 duo tied with Merstash and Malibuca. It's getting closer and closer as he used the med mist to get in and now is forced to play it out alone.
Neither of our teams tied for first want to let go. Both of them so desperate, so hungry to maintain that spot. But right now, Malibuca and Merstash look like the ones that are fighting for it, vying for it more. It felt that way at least. And we're seeing other teams want to get involved in the party. Seti and Cammy finally making it deep into one of these games. This is where we want to see this team. For Janus, though, does he have what it takes? He doesn't even have a shotgun, just a burst assault rifle. If he gets into a fight, it's going to be real tough.
It's so important for Janus to do a good job here. From the match where they got Eland off the start, not getting almost any points at all, to now being alone in the late game. Still 11 duos up. There's a lot of placements to be made, and another player, Pablo, as well, has to do it.
Pablo doing everything he can. Seti, Cammy, still here, still together, and they've got a lot of builds as well. This is really setting up to be a top game for them. They just have to avoid this pressure, and so the armored wall will come through for protection. Krusty and Paco, they're the ones up above. They are sitting comfortably with their armored walls, but Janus down below with 1 HP falls with 262 points. He still holds on to first at the moment. Gripey and Cheating, though, they have everything they need right now to make this a good game.
This could be their chance to bump themselves up the leaderboard. You see the feed, players going down one after the other. We have Art Skill, Seti, Cammy down below, Podesai, Andy as Walks gets taken out. Gripey and Cheatin now, more of an opportunity. They're together. The chemistry is at an all-time high, and they're looking to make something happen.
But this is scary for everybody else in the lobby because Seti and Cammy, they are trying to claim low ground. He's down to just wood, and so he'll need Cammy to start reeling in some materials from somewhere. But that's never out of the realms of possibility. For T-Chips and Art Skill, though, they are popping off. T-Chips has 5 limbs all by his lonesome. And Paco as well now, putting the team on his back with 5 limbs. Krusty needing to catch up. But now that they've dropped down, do they have what it takes when they're not on height?
They've given the position to Gripey and Cheatin up above now with the opportunity to take those shots on the players down below, let the party end and go in and strike at the perfect moment. But for the duos down below, Paco, Krusty, Seti, Cammy, the battle has to begin. Cammy is cracked. Seti has decided to play it alone. He hits the shots needed now with the backup onto Cammy. The 1 versus 1 down below. Seti could get a big elimination here. He takes the siphon, gets the shield, gets the finish on Art Skill, but is he going to be able to stay up?
Seti, he's struggling, he's getting a bit overwhelmed here in the zone, and eventually you've got to think Cheating will connect. Will he? He will, and eventually Seti will fall. And so for Cheating and Gripey, this is the perfect setup for them, the perfect game. They just need the rest of the players to fall, and T-Chips eventually will fall away, and Krusty will go down to the zone. Easy as you like, not many eliminations for that team, but they struck at the right time.
Not many eliminations, but a victory royale is a victory royale. Cheatin' and Gripey get to put that crown on their heads, but they're looking for more than just a crown from the match. They want the crown of the whole tournament, so they have to keep that momentum forward.
No, they'll have to keep having games like this one if they want a chance to do so. But for a team that was nowhere really within contention to now come through and get a victory royale just like so, a brilliant game by this team. Very much important, and you can see what it means to Gripey. The passion coming through. And well done to them. They take game 9.
It's a confidence booster. We'll see this duo now feeling a bit more hyped up, a bit happier, but also we must have seen a lot of changes from all the top teams. I mean, Merstash and Malibuca, they were head-to-head with Janus and Vidil in that late game, and I believe both of them went down in a similar time. Janus was playing solo, clutching up some points, but the leaderboard is going to be shaken up.
Look, Janus was able to outlast him even as a solo, so doing incredibly well in that game. We'll see though what that means in the standings, and who better to break that all down? We're sending it back to the analysts.
Thank you guys so much. The halfway point here in day number 2. You know, Reese, this was the story of everyone else on the outside finally striking at the top, saying, okay, you guys at the top have been running away. Stop! Come back. We want some of this action as well. I mean, there's a few names that, you know, first, second, trade back and forth. Well, talk to me about it.
I mean, there's usually one of these games in finals. If you're going to have 12 games, there's usually one where like the top 5 all just go out early. Usually what happens in those is like 6th down till 10th, they'll have that opportunity to catch up. It gets even closer to the top. This was like all top 10 was down, and it just had to be like 12th down to 20th, and 30 plus teams are all starting to do well then after that.
And the other issue too for Malibuca and Merstash, I mean, there was one point where it was looking particularly dicey there with Vidil and Giannis. I think we all assumed that they were going to fight when they were boxing right above
close.
each other, but they managed to remain relatively unscathed from each other, not from the rest of the lobby. However, it looked like it was going to be such an impactful refresh there for Malibuca too when he was able to take out Flowis, but unfortunately just too much congestion on that low ground.
Yeah, and that's 6 zones. That's first moving zone they've gone down. That's the second time today that they've done that. Now you saw actually as they went down, they were in first place, and almost instantly it just changed to second, which obviously gave Janus and then Vidil the chance to move up as well. So they were kind of stuck at the back side of the zone and I think it was Janus. No, Vidil went down first. Nice little solo clutch from Vidil. I'm just messing all their names up. They're doing fine. They did okay.
The important part here is that Giannis was the last man standing for this duo, and the fact that he was able to hold on to just a few more placements was the real difference maker in establishing or re-establishing that first place positioning in the leaderboards against Malibuca and Merstash. But again, these two duos, I expect them to keep trading back and forth non-stop because they know that this is a neck-and-neck race and it could realistically be either of their games.
Yeah, basically lasted a full zone longer. So what we got left now, 262, 259.
It's a little too scary. It's a little too close for me right now. I'm uncomfortable, and it's okay. But once again, we watch the swap around, and I kind of like that, right? Because we know how this is going to continue to unravel itself, right? These duos are going to go head-to-head and make everyone else watch, right? Everyone else is playing for third at this point, and that's okay. But as we kind of look and turn our attention, there's a few duos here that, like, I almost want to like, see move up, but haven't.
Like, look at the delta, the changes. Is that not boring? Like, come on, guys. Let's get some action.
Like 19 up.
Yeah,
you know?
I want to see someone fly. I'm just seeing some zeros, some ones. Like, come on.
Well, the problem here for a lot of these other teams that are in the 11th and onward pages is that duos like Vico Jackson, Tripper, and Thomas HD, they're dying to duos that are in that 30th and onwards positioning. So that's why they're still able to maintain. But the problem is now they're losing their ability to threaten the actual top 3 here in the leaderboard.
Here we go. Second page, though. Now we're seeing some better. Now we're seeing some switch-ups, some changes. Krusty Paco, 10 placement points. They were on height like the entire game, which is huge. Usually down a little bit after doing well in the first couple games. Walks and Robab also moving up 9 places. That's massive for them. Hanan Savage now down 3, and Belusi Haijo down 8 from that. So they were down real early and lost out on a bunch of points. Remember, day number 1, they were like 6th, 7th fighting for, and they've dropped now down to 20th. So with a couple games left, they're going to have to try to catch up something big.
Man, some of these duos, it does feel like they still haven't quite adapted to the Storm Surge, or there's just something happening for each of them. They have this mental block. It's like, this is the best of the best, but why are they suffering with Storm Surge?
All right, we're going to show them. You walk, I walk, you go further.
Well, the real reasoning, though, behind this whole Storm Surge instance, at least as far as Malibuca and Merstash are concerned, Reese, we touched on it a little bit earlier on at the top of the show, but these two have just made sure to reorganize their positioning so much so that they are just maintaining a nice little pressuring against that west side of the map, and so they're not necessarily having to worry as heavily because they're getting so many free tags.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the position we talked about earlier before game number 1. They're the setup, and these are the zones, right? So first zone, second zone. So what's going to happen here is basically all of these players around this side, like Rave Cave, yada yada, are all going to rotate through this water. Remember, we talked about it. There's not a bus there. There's actually a toilet. It's just for future reference. So this is what Malibuca Mustache are doing. Of course, they now have visibility over that west side of the map. They can get all of the tags from those players who end up rotating through all that water.
And not only that, but maintaining that height positioning for so long, it's not like anyone there is really trying to threaten them. They've also been getting some pretty favorable zones as is. They're not really having to move as heavily outwards from the drop point in Loot Lake. So I think that as long as they can continue to maintain this kind of uncontested for their height, I don't really see them ever losing the capability to keep that, because their Storm Surge management so far, they've been having 300 plus every single time. They are just able to take as long as they want before actually moving into the other zones.
It's a stark contrast. It's interesting. Usually you have like a perfect end game, really good mid game, and a kind of shoddy early game. It's kind of the opposite. They're having a great early game, mid game's kind of questionable. They're not getting those fights that they would normally do, and end games is getting a little dicey today. But hey, now we're in the second half.
I know. Some of these duos will absolutely be coming alive here in the second half of the competition. This is it. We got 3 games left to go, and then we will know who the next FNCS champions are here in Europe. So buckle up. It's Game 10.
Game 10.
We have now hit the double digits when it comes to games. And for the players, that signifies we are getting much, much closer to the finish. We're seeing not much change up at the top of the standings, but down below, plenty is moving around.
The leaderboard, has been stabilized a bit more now. After 10 matches, you get a sense of which duos are at the top, which ones have a long ways to go if they want to pick up that crown, but it makes it that much more interesting. These top duos, some of them have these early game kind of risky situations. Let's see what happens. Let's get into the 10th match. I'm excited, Levin.
I am super excited, and I know all the people watching are as well, but I'm even more excited to see what will happen off spawn. As always, who will it be victorious in these battles? We saw here at the Rave Cave earlier, Thomas and Trippin had their fair share of struggles. Will that happen again? It doesn't seem like it. Force? Wait, what's doing a bit? We've seen so many. How many teams? All right, this is me, Levin2k, right now, calling to all the teams playing in the finals. How many times are we going to see you switch things up off spawn? This has not switched up, though. This has not changed. Extremes and Podesai against Tayson and Chapix. It's happening again. Is this going to be the 4-0? Tayson is down. Chapix is down as well. Wow. 4-0 to Podesai and Xweez.
Does that make it 5-5, Levin? Are we tied right now? From day one being 5-1 to now being 5-5. This is crazy. This is insane. Krulex, Chico, and Rocky Reels as well. They've had some early game engagements, but the ones we've been seeing from Tayson, Chapix, Xweez, Podesai, it's been crazy.
I am just flabbergasted. I am lost for words about what we are seeing here. Yesterday, when Tayson and Chapix 4-0'd Podesai and Xweez, the whole world watched and thought, wow, that's crazy. Like, that doesn't happen. And now today, we're seeing just the complete reverse happen. And so, based off of that, should we be expecting, you know, Tayson and Chapix to win the next game, and then Podesai and Xweez to do it in Game 6? I feel like that's clearly what's going to happen if we're basing it off of yesterday. But wow, this is an off-spawn battle of the ages.
Look, I'm curious to what happened, right? From Tayson and Chapix being 5-1 to now being tied, did Podesai and Xweez change something, or is it just RNG?
Well, it's not much you can change. The nature of this battle is it's very 50-50. It's about who lands first and who's able to get the right weapons in the right places and who hits the shots needed. And so, as much as, yes, you can put in extra practice into, you know, your drops. I know Chapix and Tayson specifically were doing a lot of drop practice, even missing other tournaments in an attempt to practice their drops. Ultimately, it is so 50-50 that, yeah, this was sort of bound to happen, you could argue.
Freemark and Fakey, though, they've got the other side of the blade in this match. Last one going to Vortex and Hycris. Now with the quick peek from Freemark, quick box taking down Hycris. Was this a 1 versus 2 that he was able to come out on the other side of?
Freemark's a monster. Freemark is... I'm still waiting for a game where Freemark just pops off in endgame. I'm missing it, man. I miss the days where we got to see that more often. That's a kind of entertainment we want here in EU. Over at the Rave Cave, Trippin and Thomas are together, both alive, which is a great thing for the two of them. Seti and Cammy are on the rise. This is a team who you predicted to win the whole thing, Takata, and it hasn't quite been the performance anybody would have been expecting. But you happy to see them rising back up the standings now?
It's mixed emotions. They're more a top 5 duo in my mind, but I thought this would be the one they take home. We'll see if they can change something up in these last matches, but for Jepko, Karma here. Although Fakey did get the nice 1 versus 2, it wasn't enough to pick up his duo partner and continue pushing forwards. He has gone down. I'm looking back. Another side of the map. Blotcha and Combat. We haven't seen a lot of this duo.
Yeah, but to be fair, they've not been too bad. I think for a team of their standard, of their quality, I feel like they've had some nice moments in day 1. Day 2, I'm not too sure. We've not seen much of them at least in day 2, right? So we'll see. But for the Polish duo, I think they definitely have shocked a lot of people this season, and it's good to see them here, right? Even if they aren't competing with, you know, the Janice and Vidils at the top of the standings, this is a great foundation to build off of.
Looking over at ForZR though. Ooh, this is dangerous. This is more than dangerous. This is, can you make it out ForZR? A sliver
You can't.
of
It's down to
HP.
3.
Tico sniffing you down, trying to find you. As Freight might have been the one that found him first. Blixie close by as well. And Vico has decided now, with another duo close by, ForZR gone, he's gonna go right back to where he came from.
Unfortunate for Vico. You know, when you put in so many hard yards to try getting a limb, and another team steals it from right underneath your nose, it can be a bitter feeling, a bitter taste in your mouth it leaves. It is the nature of the game. For Queasy and Veno, this has been in their nature. They have positioned themselves up on this shifty hill. Every game where the zone allowed for it, both of them splintered. Queasy on this hill, Veno positioned a bit further towards the south. It means they have such a wide range of angles to look from and spot players out all across the map. And it's been something that's been relatively uncontested for the most part, right? We've not seen them have too many issues when taking those positions. They have so much map control, but that's the ultimate goal in the earlier stages, to gain map control.
What's good is for this match, the zone has pulled more north. It is first zone, so things can change, but so far, it's a north pull. So for Queasy and Veno, being on top of that shifty hill, it's going to be in an amazing position, especially when these players start rotating deeper into the zone and crossing their line of sight up above. It's like Ardor might do shortly. He has lost Mixon. His duo partner's down. He has to make something happen.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you're Queasy and Veno, with how north the zone has pulled, you can very much anticipate a double pull towards the north, right? And so they're just going to be able to sit there for ages and just take shots at people. You can see Mustache postured up towards the north there. He has a line of sight on this battle. So if they do expose themselves, you might have him taking shots at their corner. But Squeeze though and Podesite, they were actually able to pick up another limb, add it to their collection of Tayson and Chapix. What a collection that is, by the way.
I wonder how many more eliminations they have than Tayson and Chapix. The majority of their backpack. As now, with that zone pulling north, these players that are more south have a long ways to go. But for Strokey and Kylie, they're close. And without too many duos surrounding them, could be a positive or a negative, depending on how much damage they have and what they need. But a free rotate, it can be nice.
Yeah, they won't be too contested out here. Not many players in the vicinity. And that's what they need. We've seen this team when they're playing on a congested side of zone with so many players around them. Their decision-making hasn't been up to scratch at times. So there aren't too many players to give them issues. It allows them an easier passage towards getting into the end game.
Joe and Ziandi now boxed up in the center of the map by Loot Lake. But with just 20 seconds left, I'm curious to see where the second zone pulls. Will it be a double far pull up north in the mountainous area? Or will we have that contrary pull as it goes back down south? These players, some of them who are already positioned in, will be thinking about it.
There's no
and
way
depending on it.
There's no way this.
You don't think
back.
so?
It's going north.
Chat,
Come on.
is it going to pull up? It
course it
does.
is.
The
Come on,
double
man.
far pull. Levin knows it. Close to that logjam Lotus. And for those duos that are already based up there, you know, they're feeling happy.
Of course, that's part of playing, right? When you are a player, when you play so many scrims, so many practice games, so many tournaments, you start getting familiar with zones, right? You start recognizing zones that you've played before, and oftentimes you want to have plans for each one. It'll be interesting to see what Hennemis and Savage do, whether they have a plan for this zone. Right now, it is just to move towards Shifty and get their wood up. Along the way, there are some players causing them issues.
Issues that aren't too troublesome currently, as Hen looking to take some pop shots on Podosai Xwiz. The Shifty Shaft duos finding those opportunities to take shots onto Hen. Hen, you got to build a bit quicker there. He's been cracked down to 50, forced to pop a flopper. Now, gonna have to use those remaining shields he has, some minis, some splashes. Although I don't know if it would be worth it to use splashes here. Hopefully you can conserve them. As Ardor now still without Mixon. He did go down earlier, and he's continuing.
Yeah, it's interesting. This team's been doing really well, but of course here, with Mixon being down, it's a bit of a concern. We actually have Minimine on the sidelines to give us a quick update. What's going on with this team, Mini?
Well, Levin, they've started off really, really well. I want to dissect why that could be. Of course, we see Artur landing really, really north, really, really far away from Mixon. And this is just allowing him to get so much extra loot. We'll be able to see in a second how good his loot is. Just as a solo coming out of this drop spot gives him so much extra sort of real estate on the whole area. We can see Mixon landing towards the sort of southern side of that as well. But Mixon goes to this little area, you know, the North Loot Lake area, decides to box up, thinks, okay, this is great, but look at his loadout. This is what ultimately caused him to go down. There's a player that pushes him, and of course that DMR inside of the box, it's not going to do any good for you. So unfortunately for Mixon, he did go down, and again, they were very, very split. So now, as we see, of course, Artur as a solo, we do see him getting some tags, but is it going to be enough? Will he be able to get the reboot off? We'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see, but it's interesting to see those temporary weapons and what they can cause. But Rabab now happy with that quick elim, but based on where he is in the zone, he's got a long ways to go.
A long, long distance to cover. But it's one he'll have to make, right? We say it like he has a choice. Oh, I don't want to go zone today. No, I'm fine. I'll
Stay inside.
I'll stay in the storm.
Cherry and Pachara, though, they're in the storm, but they're a hungry duo that's in the storm. Vico popping some bandages. He has a lot of heals here to recuperate the HP. It could give him that advantage in this fight, which allows him to play it slower without worries of going down to the storm. But the issue is, even if they come out on top here, the zone's closing second after second. And Cherry, Pachawa, they've realized this. They have the advantage of the 1 versus 2, but they don't want to risk both going down after on the way back to zone. So Janison and Deal securing a nice dead side position. They do have a lot of damage, not having the eliminations, but with the tags they've gotten throughout the match, they're playing it a bit safer. But now that iDrops has spotted them out, but he gets annihilated by Vidil, dropped down to 49 HP, and he might just let them rotate after that.
That is not good from iDrop. That will be feeling that pain. It's gonna cost them a couple big pots as well. The zone does pull further towards the northeast. Once again, triple pull north.
Dangerous for the South teams.
Yeah, but look, we're seeing Janice and Vidil, how they've approached it, right? They're all the way south in Greasy Grove. And they found themselves in what is a nice position, and they're dealing good amounts of damage at the expense, of course, of eye drop. But they don't care. They'll keep on moving. Thomas and Trippin, no, obviously, we know they're trying to mount a comeback, and last game was a bit of a setback. However, back in this one, there is still a chance for them. What do we have here, though? Oh, dearie me.
Uh-oh. Has he done it? It looked like he was almost able to get the reboot there as I saw the animation, but when Storm Surge started ticking, I believe Ardor realized that he no longer has that opportunity. Does go down. And Murstache and Malibuca, 12 chug splashes just in Murstache's inventory. 50 above, they want to get a bit more damage. Being down below in the shifty shafts, they don't have a lot of vision, but with so many duos close by, it is the congested side of zone. All the duos that have to rotate from their POIs in the south, the majority of them are on this side. So it should have some openings for Murstache and Malibuca, but they're going to choose to get a position first, then look back, do the damage. It's already reached the 64 player threshold for Storm Surge to no longer be active here in this zone. So the rotates are going to continue coming through.
Valiant and Strokey just above in terms of surge. We saw them rotating without many people to take shots at. But now that they are in zone, there are plenty of opportunities around. It's just about picking the right one. Moustache is getting into boxes. Nebs, knock knock, who's there? It's Moustache. Wow.
Nebs sent to sleep, waiting for the battle bus to come pick him up for match 11, because he's out of match 10, and now Murstache and Malibuca getting a huge impact frag. Gonna permit them to have the freedom to not have to do too much damage moving forward. Now also capped on materials, capped on chug splashes, capped on almost everything you want in a late game. Being in the second place spot, this could be what permits them to take that crown and put it on their heads in the first place spot. But it's all up to their opponents. Pinka, Nas, Janice Vidil, all these players that are at the top.
Yeah, and for Pinka and Nas, they've done a great job of sort of holding this position. But there's not been much of that surge into that top one contention. When are we going to see them have their vintage pop-off game? I know they were thinking about maybe playing for hype today a bit more. It's not something they've done at all in this competition. But if there was ever a time to whip that out of the locker, it would be now. Because teams like Moustache and Malibuca here on our screens have just been so dominant on that layup, wiping teams out as they please. In another game where they are set up to do just exactly that.
What I love to see is when Murstache and Malibuca, they're in the zone. They already have damage. They already have loot, materials. They have everything they need, but they're still looking for more. They know how confident of a duo they are. And when they see a chance to, especially if it's a solo, or they get that entry possibility, you see them continuing with their aggression. And for Tripper and Thomas, they had a rough start, but it looks like they've been able to make a comeback. You can't get those comebacks without a setback. So now Tripper and Thomas, almost 1,000 above. They have a long ways to go for zone. But with the loot, with the resources they have, if they're able to pick the right path, they could be able to do just that.
Joe and Ziandi have fallen a bit in the standings, just one place. We saw them in second earlier. And that was taken out of their hands, ripped away from them. But can they snatch it back? That will be the question. They're not doing too good when it comes to surge. They need to do a bit more damage, and 93 above. Certainly is opportunities for that. Cammy and City now actually in the top 10. Who would have thought?
Slowly but surely, Levin. This is what I like to see. 2 games after this left for this duo. If they can have a strong match now, this could be the start to day 2, Cammy and Seti. We're used to seeing them perform incredibly strong in day 1 and not as strong in day 2, but it could be opposite day. It could be the time for them to make something happen. But switching over to Mr. Savage and Hen, they're running pretty low on resources and loot.
Janice and Vidil down below on Surge. Is this something I expected to see? Certainly not. Not one bit, not at all. Thomas and Trippin up above Surge is something I do expect to see, and getting a zone pull as well. Oh my, oh my. Oof. The Fortnite Lords are favoring the Danes right now with a bit of zone luck. To be fair though, for Janice and Vidil, they have the same fortune, but will they capitalize on it? They're so fortunate. There was a team taken out there that meant that they actually go above Surge even without having to deal damage. So again, a bit of luck going their way, but that's what you need sometimes to win big events. Even with all their skill, all their preparation, they need a couple things to go their way, and they are right now. But can they now take advantage of that?
I don't know if it's the green striker shotgun in their inventory giving them the luck, but with the zone pull, with the Storm Surge luck, hopefully they can capitalize on that. As now the zone begins to close, the players have to make it into that half in, half out. So much vision onto the ones, especially who rotate first, as now Hen might have just been cut off here. Savage is forced to help his duo partner out, but he gets picked off now. It's all up to Hen. This could be some quick presence from Merstash and Malibuca. They continue though. Kylie and his duo partner are the ones that secure Hen and Mr. Savage. Merstash and Malibuca, they don't want to do anything risky. They have the damage, they have the loot, and for the positioning, I saw Pink and Nos, I saw Wox Revolve. They're looking for that high elevation. And Joe and Ziandi, they're looking for something else. They're down below. They're staying aware. And now with just 5 seconds left until that 6th zone. First moving. Will Ziandi be able to find an opening? No, but the zone does pull back. This is good for this duo.
This is actually incredibly good for them, because when you look at what they were working with by way of materials, anything that can save them, a couple mats here and there, will go a long, long way. For Nas and Pink though, I did say earlier, are they gonna start playing high? It's something that they wanted to do, and maybe this might be the chance. They're the only ones that have built up for it. Oh no, there is a team across there. So they do have to stay careful, but they have the zone pull, and so they will start to build across. If they want to hold height, the opportunity is here for them.
This could be their matchup above, and Merstash has gone down. Malibuca once again forced to do it alone. It was Wox and Revolve on the opposite height. Will they be able to take the battle against Pink and Anas, or Pink and Anas can be able to maintain it? Malibuca continues running through, but he gets surprised with a player in front of him, and now he's gonna spend some time in the back of the zone. He does have the chug splashes he can use to tank the storm damage, but this is bad. If he spends too much time here, he's gonna get into zone without a lot of loot. He's gonna have players looking at him, and with just 4 chug splashes left, it's getting more and more dangerous.
He will get into zone, but at what cost? Look at what he's working with in HP. He is not too far away from being sent right back to the lobby. And these last couple chug splashes will go a long way for him if he chooses to use them. But right now, just opting to run into the zone and find a good position. And then finally, but this is a surprise of the ages. A first to the FNCS final maybe. Seti and Cammy currently hold high ground. And what a game to do it. Here in number 10, they hold the keys, but need to be careful because Queasy and Veno at the front side, or at least Queasy is, and he's looking up.
A surprise you like to see, but Malibuca is also surprising me here. Well, honestly, it's not much of a surprise. We know how dominant this player is, clutching it alone. And now for Janice, who's been dropped down to 2nd place. He's also playing it alone, getting picked by Storm Surge. An incredible amount of damage below the Storm Surge threshold. Only one more mini left. This is dangerous.
He's fine though, because players have gone down. He just needs to focus on staying alive right now. So many players going down. Pandemonium across the lobby. Joe and Ziandi have done so brilliantly to take a lot of players out, some of their biggest competitors, and now it's going to be about trying to do that again as Janice is lurking around. Can they find him and secure that? Pink and Anas finally are taken out. It's Bevies who will do it, but Queasy quickly trading in that regard. Thomas and Trippin still remain up in this game.
They're looking strong, but they're getting cut off here in the storm. You have to hit your edges. Now the grapple gloves come through. Seti and Cammy still up above. We're not used to seeing them this high in the sky, but they are dominating it as Joe gets cracked. Gonna get knocked as well. Now Ziandi left alone for Creasy. Another player that's alone is gonna do a medkit play. He wants to recuperate his HP. He has the resources to do so. And for Thomas and Tripperin, they're continuing strong.
Thomas and Tripperin down below in their element. Can they start hitting some big shots? 3 eliminations and looking to add a couple more. So much fighting happening in the back of the storm, and X3s look like the one to stay above it. Artskill will fall as he knocks on the wrong door. Thomas and Tripperin still win this game, but need to find a way to get up this hill, but they don't have any materials.
The zone is in favor of Seti and Cammy as it pulls uphill. This makes it incredibly difficult for the players down below. Thomas forced to use the med miss, but he's surviving. So many players going down, already top 3, just 5 players left. He hits the first shot, gets the second one, but can he get the finish? He needs it. He gets the Siphon. Thomas is still up, and now it's Paco. It's Thomas down below in the dirt, and Seti and Cammy just waiting to get that crown.
Seti and Cammy hold the prime position. There is no better place to be in this game than where they are right now. Both of their opponents just trying to heal off, but eventually they will fall, and Seti and Cammy will rise. This is perfect for the Polish boys as they try to mount what has been a big comeback. Awful in day 1, but here in day 2, they are looking much better.
It's opposite day 11. Seti and Cammy are looking to make something happen in the second day. Playing on the high ground and doing it perfectly. They have those grapple gloves. They saw the chance, the opportunity. They capitalized on it, and it got them the victory royale.
This has been something we have talked about in EU compared to Fortnite for so long. This is a team that has shown in the past they are elite in mid and low. Could they do it on height? They never seem to want it. But this season, they started getting coached by the one and only BloodX and finally started looking up to the skies. And now they're doing this here in the biggest stage, the hardest lobby in the world. And they're winning games doing it. Cammy and Seti win game 10 from height.
The lights are shining brighter. Pushed up to 8th place. They got themselves in the top 10 for once. And now it's giving them a bit more confidence. There's still 2 matches to be played out. This could be an opportunity for them.
Yeah, for sure. This is going to be a huge game, not just for the standards, but for the confidence. They've needed this kind of performance, and they're going to need a couple more. There are still 2 games left. So while we take a quick little break, we're going to send it to Zeke, Taco, and Reese.
The penultimate game here on the horizon. But in game 10, Cammy and Seti finally get themselves a win. They break in at top 10, and now, Reese, I mean, they have to... Maybe first place a little too far, but top 5, that's sounding extremely reasonable.
They don't want a top 5. Cammy and Seti won a first place, but with 2 games left, I think like the point disparity is just going to be too much.
It's just going to boil down to how many elims they're able to accrue throughout these final 2 matches, on top of being able to replicate maybe some more Victory Royale finishes, because I love this gameplay from them, completely controlling the high ground. Piken and Nas, I think we saw at one point trying to contest, but they just weren't able to actually stick around on top. And I think a lot of this is just tested to the fact that Cammy and Seti just pushed everyone back.
They did indeed. And what's interesting is the fact that, you know, you're talking about they need 2 big elim games to come up. I mean, they had 6 or 7, I think actually 7 games in a row where they had 0 eliminations. So, I mean, for them to pick up 2 massive high elimination games in the last 2, maybe kind of unlikely.
We'll have to see, but here's a look at our standings. So remember, keep it in the back of your mind, we have 2 games left to go. It's extremely close, man. Vadil and Janice, Merstash and Malabuka, they're your first and second place teams. They just keep doing this little dance, Reese. They, you know, they pull ahead, then they go down, then the other team, Vadil and Janice, are allowed to pull back ahead because Janice is just solo clutching, keeping himself alive. This is going to go down. This is going to be a nail-biter, man.
It'll go down to the final game, game number 12, undoubtedly between the 2 of them. Both have 2 wins. Both have the same rough elims. Both have the same amount of placement points. It's like, the way that they're playing is so close. Actually, I just want to highlight, that's what I was talking about. 14 elims, 30, 14, 28, 22. You know, that's how just little they've been fragging out for their side.
Well, I have to also point out the fact that Joe and Ziandi, I mean, we saw them actually duking out with the first and second place duos, but more importantly is the fact that Joe and Ziandi, the fact that they eliminated one of those top two duos.
I think it was Vidil, yeah.
I believe it was Vidil and Giannis. It got a little bit hectic there, but more importantly, that was actually a saving grace here for Queasy and Veno. That actually helped Queasy and Veno to overtake Joe and Ziandi, despite the fact that they were the ones to elim one of the top duos.
I know, and what's really interesting, actually looking at the points where Queasy, Veno, and Joe and Ziandi are, it's like if either Mustache Malabuka, Vidil, Janis go down early in the next game, they've caught up. They're in that contention for first. So for, you know, guys, I also want to look at like Tripper and Thomas HD, for example. Like, obviously, they're doing super well, but now we want to go to the Vidil and Janis. This is where they're struggling. 393 below the Storm Surge.
This is without a doubt probably the worst game that we have seen for them in terms of their surge management. And honestly, I think a lot of that's just attributed to the fact that there was just so much congestion inside of those moving zones and going up and down the hills. It's just so problematic to actually try and maintain any sort of mid-ground control when you're constantly trying to also scurry upwards. They were struggling, I think, as well with their materials. And so when you add all these factors together, it just makes it so problematic to actually stay on top.
It does, but they've done it. And that was one of the games that was so interesting. I think either 2 games ago, it was pretty much the exact same zone. However, they came with cap mats, tons above surge. So that game obviously not coming out so perfect for them.
Yeah, and I actually want to double back to Thomas HD and Tripper. So for you all at home, remember, if a duo goes down, they're kind of like frozen in time, right? They can't accrue more points. For this duo, if they just keep up that consistency factor, we see those top 5, top 6 go down, they could very well make it in the top 5.
Yeah, they absolutely could. And again, I want to see it. Thomas HD's had the most amount of top 5 finishes in FNCS finals without winning one. 6 to date. And right now he's looking to get a 7th, which is unfortunate because we want to see Thomas win. He's a caliber of a player that not only could win, should win an FNCS.
But I love that elim that he managed to find there on Krusty at the very end, because that is really what ensured that he was actually able to finish in that 2nd place position. And they needed that because right now every single point counts. They've broken the 200 threshold. That's the most important part, because it's not impossible if we're able to see Vidil, Giannis, Mustache Malabuka actually fall early, which we have been seeing some of these teams in the more late kind of placements actually look for those aggressive challenges, because they might not be in contention for top 5, but they'll make sure that these other teams aren't either.
Yeah, look, I would look at Malabuka Mustache. We're going to roll some clips, but I want to ask you two a question. I want to see what goes on here. What do you think is going to happen? 2 points between the two of them. Give me your predictions for the top 2 teams and what's going to happen here.
Joe and Ziandi are going to take over.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay, I think Malabuka Mustache could actually overtake Vidil and Janis to win.
Okay.
And I say that because I cast a curse them now, and my prediction wins.
All right, okay. So it's selfish pick from Zeke. I like it.
But they're going to tunnel too much on each other. I think at this point, Malabuka, Mustache, Giannis, Vidil, they are starting to... It's hard not to hyperfixate on your direct competition. And I think that's really the threshold where we'll start to see Queasy and Veno, or potentially Joe and Ziandi. I'm really... It's hard not to pull for Joe and Ziandi with some of the highlights that we've been seeing from this duo.
Okay, my one, quickly. Malabuka Mustache win a game, but Vidil wins overall.
Oh, okay. So we have kind of a little bit of everything.
Got a bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Highs, lows. That's my guess.
All right, I love to see it. This is it, the penultimate game, which means we have only 2 left. Hang on, man. The action's about to crank itself way up there. This is game 11 of the FNCS Finals.
Game 11.
You said it yourself, Zeke. Just 2 games left. The leaderboard has been stabilized, and we have an idea of which are the top teams. But the question is, who's going to be able to take it home? The battle bus is ready. The players are dropping in. The stage is set, and so much is waiting to happen.
There are a lot of battles we are eagerly waiting to see conclude. And what a better time than now? As all these players do everything they can to win in these last couple. It's very, very important that you don't slip up now. There's not many opportunities after this one. But who will do it at North Loot Lake? Xsweeze has landed first again. Oh. And so Champix and Tayson start off on the back foot. Tayson's already fallen, and Champix might be following. But Malabuka Mustache from way downtown coming in clutch for Champix, it seems. And so now Podesai versus Champix. And finally, Champix and Tayson win. The assist from Malabuka and Mustache, though, inadvertently. Oh, dearie me. 4-1 on the day, and literally a reverse of what we saw yesterday.
The absolute opposite from yesterday. 5-6 all throughout both days. Mustache, Malabuka, you said it yourself, Levin. The third party came through, and Tayson and Chapix did as well. You know, I'm curious to see, Levin, now. They've been knocked out of the spawn every game today except for this one. Is this one game they're getting to play out? Or are they going to make it a big one?
You gotta hope so, right? They don't really have much of a choice. They've literally not been allowed to play 4 of the 6 games today. When you get a chance, you better take it.
For Kha'Zix and ForZR, though, didn't give their opponents much of a chance at all.
Yeah, Chicho and Trulex have really struggled here at Rocky Rails, which is unfortunate. They were the Rocky owners coming into the FNCS final, but I think ownership has been forcefully taken over by ForZR and Kha'Zix.
And also for Fico and Jackson. Fico's been left alone as Jackson has gone down. Happened so quickly, but a duo we've been keeping our eyes on as well. Tripper and Thomas. They've had issues in the early game, but now with 2 more matches left, they want to set themselves up for the 12th match of the day in a way where they can take home a good piece of the prize.
It's so sad, but I just know they're going to finish third. It's just written in the stars. They're going to finish third again. Like, make sure to come back to this, because it is going to happen. It's so obvious with these guys. The script is there.
I wouldn't be surprised. We know Tripper and Thomas. But a third's better than a 6th place. And they still have a lot of work to do, even if they want that. Let's see a replay of some elims here from Fakey and Freemock. Down in the Reality Falls. This engagement against Hycris and Vortex. It's been going on for, it feels like, centuries. And in this case, I was going to say, it looks like it's going to Fakey and Freemock, and it does. Vortex was so low that he did go down there.
Another game where it goes to those two. We saw that last game as well. And so for Hycris and Vortex, going into that final game, game 12, you'd hate to have to go down again. They have to make it count in that last one. But again, literally will only have one more chance in this FNCS final.
We just saw Seti and Cammy on the screen, and that's an interesting fact. I mean, the elims they got from the last match with the VR was the same amount as all the other matches combined. I mean, it's impressive that they're in the top 10 right now. It shows that even if they don't get a lot of elims, the consistency, even in the worst scenarios, it's there. And if they can finish just as strong as they did in the last match for the rest of these matches today, it would be impressive.
It does make you wonder what would have happened if they didn't have some of the off-spawn struggles they had in day one. And again, that is, maybe something for another day. Let's focus on the here and now. What is the reality? That is Karma and Jackpo up against ADN and Hardfind once again in a battle that has been so consistent, so relentless, and seemingly not too beneficial for either team. But at the end of the day, with not many games left, they'll just be wanting to get the one-up on each other.
But remember, every single placement takes a piece of the prize. You always want to do your best here. Even if you're in 29th, you can still bump yourself up the leaderboard, and it can be a bit more of that prize money, of that pride. As now ADN has been taken out. Japco Karma with the upper hand now. Hardfind left alone. He continues to play it slow. You see him up above, but the sprint comes through. The disengagement, as now Lucia and Frizzy are in a position where they can't make a disengagement. Not yet. JJ2 close by. Low shield. One big shot could be enough to grant Lucia and Frizzy that chance to keep pushing forwards. They recuperate their missing HP with the Chug Splash. being in the Sleepy Sounds. You can see at the bottom right of the mini-map. There's a couple duos close by, but it doesn't seem like the eyes are on their fight. For Joe and Ziandi, though, it's pure tranquility.
Well, third place team here. They've rotated quite a distance already, getting out of that Synapse area rather swiftly, using those rifts that they have available to them. Now as they head towards this tilted area, what will they find? Will Mr. Savage and Henby lurking about? We've seen them hang around tilted quite a long time in some of these games. Will they maybe find Vico and Jackson somewhere nearby? If they go further north to the Shifty Shafts, they will find Vino waiting on this hill that he does every single game the zone pulls north. And just a reminder, it's another north game. So, again,
will it double up, though, this time, Levin? Will it double up again? Will it triple up like it did in the last one?
It's definitely going to pull north again. That's a spoiler alert for you. But whether it will get a triple pull or not, I'm not sure. It's always hard to predict the triple pulls, but definitely going to pull north again. Mark my words.
You got the 11-2K guarantee on that one.
Of course, that is the 11-2K guarantee, 100%.
All right. I'm going to go back to that. If it doesn't pull north twice, Levin, I'm just saying. But Vico is going to go back to having a duo partner as he picks up Jackson. He lost him early on. Reboot comes in as now in the Greasy Grove. That's not as north as you'd like to be with the zone. Saw some shots come in too, so there are some duos down there. But a duo that came from the Greasy Grove, Janice Vidil, already at the Rave Cave. Almost full materials, only have used up that wood to rotate. They have the shield, they have the ammunition, and they're ready.
They love to come towards this sort of northwest side. It's one of their favorite places to rotate via. Ooh, JJ, okay.
Ooh.
Made that SMG work, my friend.
Good job, good job. Mr. Savage as well, with an Elam on the board. Still in the Tilted Towers, though. This is a duo that's had some trouble before rotating. But for now, they seem to be playing it a bit sneaky.
Sneaky, for sure. Well, we do have Mini Miner on the sidelines here to bring us an update in this penultimate game. Mini, what do you have for us, my friend?
I do indeed. Now we saw, and they're trying to get as many tags as they see them hiding inside of the bushes, getting really solid tags. So hopefully they won't be below on Surge. And with that incredible loot that they both have, I think they'll be looking to, put it to good use.
Thank you, Mini Miner. I hope they do put it to good use. And I also hope that Thomas HD can put his mechanics to good use here, because he's going to have to do just that when you're going against two of the titans of the European region, Tayson and Chapix.
These are former teammates going at each other right now, Tayson and Thomas. Who will be the ones to get the best of each other? This is literally some of the best Fortnite players ever battling it out right now. And it looks like Tayson and Chapix are on the hunt for Thomas. They do not want to let him survive. And they're going to keep on breaking through all these builds as they go about. But he will use the porta potty to get away, and they will chase. Interesting. Okay, so they're going right at it. They're not even scared of a bait. They just want to jump right back in. Maybe that's going to cost them if they're not careful here. But eventually Thomas will get boxed up. Oh my goodness. The Peace Police just called, and they want to take Tayson away. But it's actually not going to be them that gets the elimination. I believe it was Ziandi that
I saw
sold
that.
it away in the feed.
I'm wondering how Ziandi found the angle. And a 180 from Chapix, perfectly lined up shot. Using those buses, as Reese would say, are the porta potties to make an escape happen. But the escape wasn't enough. As now Ziandi, this is where he got that little elimination from. But oh no, Jackson, your duo partner picked you up. Will you be able to make something happen in the Reality Falls? Zone has pulled north again. 11-2 guarantee. Showing how strong it is. But for T, Chips, and Art Skill, this is not good at all, 11. Even if they get an Elim here to make it back to zone, they could use the Reality Falls tree to rotate, but it's gonna be hard.
Oh, for sure. But nothing ever comes easy if it's good, right? So they have to just get on with it. Down on Surge, though, is more than a mountain to climb. We'll call it that. Especially with T-Chips and Art Skill here. I don't see a world where this is that possible of a fight to win. He might just have to try and escape. I don't think T-Chips knows where he's gone.
He's kind of lost in the zone here.
Yeah, he spotted him now, so at least they know his whereabouts. And he's not got much HP to work with, so you've got to think it's only a matter of time until he falls. He's making it very hard for him, I'm not going to lie.
I mean, Jackson's doing what he wants to right now, and it's make sure that T-Chips and Art Skill have a troubled time.
I like that.
Oh.
I like that.
With the zip line used to break the builds from Jackson. The quick shot coming in. They've got the elimination, but will they be able to make it back to zone? That is the question.
That was cheeky. It did take him a moment to realize he could use the zip line, but once he did, it did pay off.
Thinking of Nos. Looking strong. They could have a bit more materials, but it's not too bad at all. They made it to zone. A lot of players close by in Shifty Shafts. Looting up what hasn't been looted yet. It's a shield keg, luckily enough. Now 2 in the inventory as they continue to refarm their resources they're missing.
Yeah, it's a big couple of games for these two. A real test of their character and who they are as players. Can they handle this pressure? It's come so close in the past, but never this close to that ultimate prize. Can they hold their nerve, keep their cool? I certainly believe in them. For Veno and Queasy, they currently are second place, and that is huge for this team. The 2 players who have won FNCSs this year in the lobby, currently playing together this season. And even though they've had a couple hiccups across the past 11 games, they've made it count when necessary. And that's why they sit so close behind.
They're getting great zones, too. 2 north pulls towards Queasy and Veno when their opponents tied up there. Well, not tied, but very close to first place on the edge. Having to rotate from Greasy Grove all the way up 2 zones in a row where Queasy and Veno get to play on the Shifty Shafts Hill, taking shots at the players rotating. They've been getting the good zones, but are they going to be able to capitalize it more than Janus and Vidil are going to try and pop off in these last 2 matches, set themselves up for the last game? Kali and Fastroki, no shields, low HP, on the borderline of Storm Surge. This duo, they're in a dangerous situation.
Dangerous situation indeed. Kylie almost been taken out here. For Strokey is solo as well, but with just 12 HP and only 20 builds to be placed. What can Kylie do to stay in this game? Making use of this building is going to be huge. There is a chest in there as well. Maybe you can give him some loot that will allow him to get that HP back up, but that was very scary for the 2. He actually did go down. Kylie gets taken out by Andalex, so he wasn't able to survive. And Andalex and Stacey will be on their way. They want to get to zone. That's their priority.
Paco and Krusty continuing to wait for the opening. They know that they have players looking to make the rotate, and there it is. Fastroki, Kylie gone down. As now we look around the map, the Shifty Shafts Hill up above, reaching the clouds. Players based up all around the hill. And a duo like Seti and Cammy, they're 55 below, but that's not the problem. They're looking to make something happen. Bumped all the way up to 6th place already. From not being in the top 10 throughout the whole tournament almost, to now having a chance to make it into that top 5. It's what they're looking to do.
This duo has had the comeback of the ages, it seems, and they are continuing to make waves in this lobby. Mr. Savage and Hen are falling. Who else is going to be following them? Seemingly a lot of players. Seti actually having to be revived right now. We know they need to get more eliminations, but they can't afford to lose their lives as a result of it.
Uh-oh. No shields for Cammy. Seti, though. Big pot, 2 chug splashes. They are 95 above now. Storm Surge no longer active for this zone. But they need some shields.
And
continue to rotate through.
Cammy can be a bit more brazen in his
yeah.
Seti has to be a bit more careful with every movement he makes.
Thinking of Nos now. They see it. They know the line. They have the vision. And they continue. It seems like they already have a little base that's heart made into zone. Pink. Nice shots coming through on one of each player of the duo. As now they continue to run through. Sprinting into the zone, but they are going to be basing up beside Meristache and Malabuka. We know how confident they are taking those fights, but being the second to last game, they want to get as many points as possible.
Oh dear.
And for Hellfire, who's stuck on the side of the hill, sliding his way down with just 41 HP and no spare shields, now boxed up by his opponent. He goes down.
That is so awkward of a spot to be in for Hellfire. Drops his way into the wrong box. Floris chose the right direction to move into. But unfortunately, he's not going to stay alive for much longer. There were so many players still watching his position and taking shots at him. That's the end of the run for that duo. They still do have one more game, but they go into it with not the best of morales.
Take a replay, though. See what happened from Mr. Savage and Hen. They found a player in the bush. They connected the shots they needed to.
Okay.
But will it be enough for them to continue pushing forwards? As Janus and Medeal also were able to pick up elimination, and it's unfortunately going to be in Hen. That duo is no longer going to be in this match. But for Seti and Cammy, if they're able to get a refresh, it could be enough to continue that comeback. They see Clown, they see Refsguard, they're close by. They need a couple eliminations, they need a bit of shield, and they're just looking for it.
Moustache goes down in the feed. That's huge for the standings. Malabuka now is left as a solo. This is going to be monumental. If he is not able to stay alive, that is going to be perfect for Janus and Medeal. What can he do? Veno actually going down in the feed as well, and so Queasy is going to be left all alone potentially to try and hold on to the position behind. It's so tight at the top, but both of these teams are struggling. What can Malabuka do? We've seen him with some crazy clutch moments in the past. Picking up the med miss, that's going to be key. It gives him time in the zone. But is he going to be able to stay alive?
Oh, it's dangerous. It's Pink. It's a Nos. They're close by. Malabuka, if he was ever going to have a solo clutch like he did in day one, this is the moment where he wants to make it happen. His opponents, who are in second place, they are on the cutoff of getting eliminated. Also playing as a solo, Malabuka has to make the far rotate, though. The zone pulled north, so he has a long ways to go. He has the Shug splashes, the med miss, the shields. But if he gets caught off guard, just a few shots onto him, and he goes down just like Janus did on the feed. This just opens up that much more of an opportunity for this duo to maintain that #1 spot going into the last match.
What is going on right now? Things are getting real intense. Medeal, my friend, you must stay awake. You must make sure you don't go down to Storm. The flopper will be so essential. But hopefully he can stay alive. He can, and barely make his way in. He has max materials for the most part, and so that should keep him ticking in this game. But again, all of our top 3 playing as solos right now.
This is dangerous. Medeal popping the big pot, 28 HP. That's 3 ticks to the zone, and he goes down. Here we have the perspectives. Queasy, Malabuka, Medeal. If they've ever practiced solos, this is the time where it has to show that hard work paying off. All of these duos above Storm Surge, it is up to them.
The 2 on the bottom have positions that are a bit more safe. Medeal, on the other hand, had to make a journey. Queasy using the grapple gloves now just to secure his spot. But with the lack of materials, it's going to be real hard. This is a blessing that was needed. But Malibuca, who has fallen, means that there is now space, there is now room. Vidil and Queasy. Vidil to hold on to first, Queasy to now push into second. Both of those players will be ecstatic, but it's more than just being ecstatic. It's about taking players down, and Vidil will take down Guden.
Guden knocked down Queasy, rotating through. He still has a lot of charges in the grapple glove. Vidil picking up that loot from the refresh. He has almost 100 builds to work with. So many resources for Vidil, and on the contrary, Queasy with only two builds to work with, and they're both wood. Queasy needs to find a refresh.
Queasy has to go insane right now. We've seen him hit big shots today. We've seen him put the team on his back at times, but this is a moment that is more than anything he's had to deal with all season long. It is going to take the very best of Queasy to make something happen now. The Medmist gives him time to lurk. He spotted some mats as well in the zone. He has eagle eyes.
Vidil, he's looking for more, but he doesn't want to do anything too risky. He wants to use these materials. He cannot go down with mats in his inventory. Joe as well, third place spot. All the top teams is a solo. 272 points on the board. He has shields, he has materials, and up top, it's Jurecki, it's Eyedrop, but I want to keep my eyes on Joe, Queasy. These solos, are they going to be able to clutch it up?
Queasy has done brilliantly to stay alive. Wasn't able to get much more than the Cypher materials, and so he is just eagerly waiting to try and capitalize on anybody showing weakness. Vidil, though, he wants to take his destiny into his own hands. He wants to force his way into this box, and that's exactly what it looks like he'll try and do. But he needs to be careful.
Ooh.
That is a big shot. Can he hit another one?
Joe got eliminated. Queasy goes down. It's all up to Vidil now in the top 10, 9th place currently. He's clutched the most points so far for his duo, but he can still get more. He has the shields. He's recuperating with the minis. So many players still up. A duo on high ground walks just above him. Vidil, now is the chance.
Vidil showing off his prowess and doing it in style, but eventually Wox will be the one to shut him out and send him back to the lobby. Bevy's still up, 9th place team right now. What can he do in this situation? Looks up to the skies, doesn't spot anybody, but unfortunately he doesn't have the mats for it. Just opting to drop down and looking side by somebody as well. He needs to block his way off, as there are players in the zone. If he's not careful, he could get taken out from behind. Jurecki picking up some shots, picking up an limb, and this is a game that they've been waiting to play all day long. Up from above, up on high ground, a place where they're most comfortable, and we haven't seen them here. Can they close out the rest of the game?
Aware with 5 alongside JJ2, almost a double-digit elims down below, but Jurecki trying to turn into Jura King here up above, looking to take home this match. They have the positional advantage, but it's a 2 versus 2. It's not going to be easy.
Jurecki, Eyedrop versus JJ2 and Aware, and things are already breaking loose. Jurecki has dropped down and he's connected with the shots as well. JJ2 gets taken out. Aware just has to do everything he can, but will it be enough? He does well to stop Eyedrop, but Eyedrop finally recovers and hits a big shot. Finally, Eyedrop and Jurecki showing what they can do in the FNCS final and winning a game from above.
They get the crown, they get the victory royale on the second to last match, but my eyes, Levin, I want to know what happened up above. So many of the top teams were playing as a solo. The leaderboard has been shaken up, and now going into the last match, it's where it matters most. Is Jurecki and Eyedrop going to be able to push the momentum forwards, or are these top duos going to be able to get that last big match needed to take first place?
Are we going to see a celebration here from Jurecki? Nothing. A bit humble. Usually we see him getting up and dancing and whatnot, but in game 11 here, after winning it, finally announcing themselves to the rest of the lobby, they are just happy to get the victory out, and understandably, a very, very good game.
Look, every placement on the leaderboard gets you something. So getting a VR is going to bump them up quite a lot, especially being on the mid-half already. So they are looking to do the same in the last match, but so are those top teams, Levin.
Of course, and as we head into this final game, there is no better people I'd like to hand it over to than Zeke, Taco, and Reese.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. I am so unbelievably stressed right now. We're going to look at the standings in just a little bit, okay? First, I just want to give Jurecki a moment in the sun, right? A huge victory royale here in the finals. A victory royale from any duo in the finals is massive. I mean, I'm just finally happy that they can, like Levin was saying, you know, showcase their skill here.
I mean, I think these guys should be a top 10 team.
Yeah.
Like, these guys should be placing in the top 10. But in all honesty, I think the biggest struggle that they're having is just their surroundings. The amount of players that are around them is pretty minimal. So for them, in terms of trying to get tags and damage, it's just going to take them so long to try and get something that has just not worked out repeatedly, game after game. It's great to see them show up in game number 11, but I wish we'd seen that game after game after game.
I think what also really helped them finding this first placement is the fact that they were actually able to hold on to height for the vast majority of the latter half of this round. And I think that more particularly, iDropJerky, I mean, they've been a relatively silent duo, but this is still silent but deadly. Or excuse me, it's just dangerous.
Go. We are getting excited here as we prepare for the final game. But it's that time. Take a look together. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time here. As much time as we can to kind of break this all down for you. Remember, 1 game left to go. We turn our attention, Reese, to that top spot now. We can see Vidil and Janus, they're quite a bit ahead.
They are. Let me set the scene of that.
Let's do it.
If you think about Queasy and Vino, and then Joe and Ziandi in 3rd and 4th, right? A Victory Royale is 32 points.
Yes.
So just with the Victory Royale, with those two alone, that's still not enough to overtake Vidil and Janus. So essentially, if Vidil and Janus go down early in game number, well, I was going to say 12, the last game, and get 0 points, which is extremely unlikely, you never know, then we may see a win from Queasy, Vino, Joe and Ziandi be able to overtake them on the leaderboards.
See, you say it's unlikely, but have to keep in mind, it's starting to come back to haunt them now. Vidil and Janus from an earlier round, I believe 2 rounds ago, where they managed to actually fall early on, and it's so unfortunate because that's got to be in the back of their minds. Granted, they're definitely still sitting in that first place position. They have a little bit of a buffer zone, but it's still not enough for them to sit all that comfortable because Joe and Ziandi, I think even Queasy and Vino, we've already seen Queasy and Vino, especially with a 13 elim finish, so it wouldn't surprise me to see any of these 4 top duos actually manage to find a really high elim closer.
Yeah, and you know, obviously, we're looking at 3rd and 4th coming up till first place. What can they do? But let's be real. Let's look at Mustache and Malabuka. They are currently 15 points behind. Now, that is a massive game. Now, my prediction before this coming in was that they're potentially going to win a game. Maybe we could see the final game, Game 12, the Mustache Malabuka 10 elimination Victory Royale clutch win. I mean, I'm all about that.
That would be enough.
I love Vidil and I love Janus, and they are deserving champions if they win, but hey, I'm here for an exciting ending.
It's hard not to factor in Malabuka and Mustache with that finalizing close because this is a duo we have seen them time and time again. When they get into this stage of a competition, it's almost like it's their exact element that they want to be in the whole way through. And it's also impressive to think about the fact that they actually have top elims here on this first page of the leaderboards, and yet they are still trailing by 15 points. So it kind of just showcases the fact that Vidil and Janus, they have recognized, even if they're not necessarily overtaking Mustache and Malabuka and elims, they still have 38 to their name, and on top of that, they are just holding on every step of the way. They are being tactical when they find themselves in those solo situations, and I think Vidil and Janus especially, they've both had moments where they've even found just really impactful refreshes.
Yeah, and I think if you're Vidil and Janus right now, you're just thinking, right, what do we need to do? They probably need to secure something like 25 points to guarantee it.
Probably.
The Wave Boys, of course, have done so good. That last game from Vidil was absolutely phenomenal. If they end up winning this, Vidil absolutely will be the MVP of this tournament.
But we did see them struggle with Surge. Remember, we saw a game where they were 400 below Surge. So how do we fix that? Like, what do we need to be doing here?
Pray, firstly, pray to the zone RNG gods that this is not yet again another North Pole. This is like the 4th game today we've seen in this zone, and the only game that was in their drop spot, Greasy Grove, was the game that they got snuck up on and didn't go down and went down early.
Exactly, and not only that, but I think that there is a certain level of paranoia that this duo is going to be operating with, given the fact that it was the 50th place duo that was the duo to actually eliminate early on. So it's just, you don't want to find yourself having to depend on Malibuca and Mustache making a mistake. Vidil and Giannis, they have showcased time and time again that all of those scrim bucks are certainly coming back to help them out.
I think they are. And it's all honesty, I think it's Mustache and Malibuca who are preying on the Wave Boys to make a mistake. That's in all honesty what they have to do. I think if Vidil and Janice get to like a top 5 in an endgame, I mean, it's going to be really difficult for Mustache and Malibuca to overtake them unless they just go off and have a little Malibuca Mustache classic.
That's right. And I mean, even if we just look past that top 5, right, for just a moment, someone like Seti and Cammy, right, they could break into that top 5. That would be huge in a difference in prize money, right? So there's so much that we're going to be talking about. Make sure you all at home, as you're watching every single interaction, every time a duo encounters another one, someone falls, that's going to be it. This is one last time here from the FNCS Finals. I'm sweating bullets,
Me too, man. It's not just the temperature, it's the games. We have one more left. Every single time it comes down to game number 12 when there's $300,000 on the line for first place, every single elimination counts. It can be that difference of $100,000 between first and second.
I'm just waiting to see which of these duos might be trying to play spoiler, though, to these top teams that are trying to contest between first and second and third.
Well, this is it. The last ride here in Europe from the Chapter 3 Season 3 FNCS Finals. We hope you're all ready for this. Buckle up. It's Game 12.
Game 12.
The last opportunity here, game number 12. Your last chance to solidify your destiny. Who will it be as we head out of the battle bus already? Players landing. There's no more opportunities after this one.
This is it, Levin. This is literally it, the moment we've all been waiting for. Let's see which duo comes out on top. The battle of the ages. Tayson, Chapix, Podesai X Squeeze as Podesai gets knocked. Tayson and Chapix now the man advantage, and they take down both players. Well done.
Chapix and Tayson versus Podesai and X Squeeze ends 7-5 to Chapix and Tayson after 12 games. I didn't think it would go all 12, but it did. And it's hard to say somebody came out victorious, right? Both teams, you could argue, losing out. Both teams who could have done a lot better on the day had they been uncontested. But sometimes that's just not how the cookie crumbles. For Janice and Vidil, they'll be very happy about how things have panned out for them.
But will they, Levin? This last match still has to be played out. They are going into the match strong, happy, confident, excited. But so are the players close by. Mustache Malibuca, Queasy, Vino. All of these duos on the borderline of taking that first place spot. If they go down now, if they get eliminated, that's it. It's no more waiting in the lobby. It's the last chance.
Back over towards the Butter Barn. We've not seen this fight since earlier today, but in the last game, it will go in the favor of Flixie and Frey, and look how much it means to Flixie. I'm sure there was plenty of pain in his voice. They weren't expecting to be contested at Butter Barn, and unfortunately for them, they were, and it has been very, very difficult for them to deal with.
For a duo that hasn't had difficulty of spawn at all. Queasy, Vino, and Joe and Ziandi now in the Synapse Station as well. But it's more than just the early game for these duos that are uncontested. It's about the late game. 4th place spot for Ziandi and Joe. So much money on the line for this top 5. It could be one elimination that separates you from a placement. You have to do everything in your power to play the best Fortnite you can.
There is no better time than now here in Game 12, the last game, the biggest game of the season. In the most difficult lobby any of these players will play in all season long. Seti and Cammy have done such a fantastic job to right the wrongs of day one. They sat way down below in the standings as we came in today. But now they sit just outside of the top 5. What do we have here? Vortex looks like he's going down in this final game. Reality falls on him, and that is that his FMCS is done. Hydro and Belusi taking them out.
Feeling good. And Pink and Anas probably feeling stressed out right now. 5th place spot. They've been playing very well. Day 1, Demon Pink looking to be awoken again in this last match. Will they be able to?
And this is just the randomest of tidbits here. But when Pink puts on that Bugha outfit, it means business. I know this Percy. If he puts on that outfit, it means he's on the hunt. He's ready. Like there's no higher version of Pink and Anas than when they have those outfits on. So
let's see if that's true, 11. Let's see if they can make it happen. As Hen in the feed going down to Vico. It looks like the two duos contesting each other in Tilted Towers have had enough and want to have an engagement in this last match, but it's actually been taken out of the POI.
Way out.
Way out of the POI. How did they get over here?
Okay, well, this is interesting, right? Because these are two teams who have been landing at Tilted Towers with each other and still running into each other, just not at Tilted Towers, so...
Something's bounding these two duos together like a magnet. And Thomas and Tripburn, they were making the comeback, but they've had a bit of a setback now in 11th, out of the top 10. So the point range between 11th and being even in the top 7, top 8, they're very close. This could be a big change in what they're able to make if they have a good last game.
Pink and Anas now. They have their eyes set on Kylie and Frostroki. But will they actually break out into an all-out battle here? It does seem that way right now, the way both of these teams are sort of moving. But is this a fight that's worth it for Pink and Anas? With how high they are in the standings, is this worth risking your tournament? In my humble opinion, I don't think so.
And they don't think so either. This engagement comes through. Kylie and Frostroki, though, they keep their eyes peeled here, seeing if they can get some free tags as Pink and Anas continue their rotate through.
What do we have here? Oh, dear me. Guden, Vacant. Oh. Those are my boys from the semi-finals. But, on this occasion, Hellfire and Floris making quick work of them. That's the end of this season for Bacon and Guden. Props to them, though. A team that many wouldn't have even expected to be here in the FMCS final, making an appearance. And even if things haven't quite gone their way, plenty of learning opportunities. And I hope next time round we get to see them again.
I mean, it's an accomplishment just to play in the finals. Someone on fire right now, Hellfire, after that elimination. Gonna see if he can continue that moving forwards. For Krusty and Paco, they're in the top 10. Big money on the line as they have their tower made in the Coney Crossroads. Their Storm Surge tower to find those tags on the players rotating around. And for Malibuca and Murstache, second place spot, the nerves are on.
Oh dear. It's not going to be an easy game for these two, but if there's any team that can rise to the occasion and handle that pressure, it would be them. I would not be surprised if they did come out this game and just got a victory royale with double-digit elims. That would be so in their fashion.
I mean, reset it. I wouldn't be surprised either, as we see a nice rotate from Vidil and Janice here. Along the edge of the zone. Make sure they're playing it safe here. They don't want to get into any trouble. No danger for this duo. Already capped materials. Good loot. They're trying to finish strong.
I'm sorry, but whoever's writing the script, you've got to make it a bit less obvious. 3 North zones in a row. 3 back to back to back. And again, I'm sure we'll see a double pull. So, to be fair, Janice and Vidil have loved these zones, and it's because they've done exactly this. They've moved into these positions here in the Northwest. And so, we were talking about how if they have another good game, it's not really going to be possible for anybody to take first place. But I think right now the reality is that they are just going to have another good game.
The last good game is what they're looking for. As all these top teams around the map scattered to the zone, and is it going to double pull for a third time? Back to back to back North zones. Janus and Vidil with their planned route from Greasy Grove up top. And Zandy and Joe now still inside of the zone. It's all on the line.
Perfect zone for Janus and Vidil. But we have so many other top teams in the lobby who all have such major stakes in this game. And so who better to update us on their stakes than Mini Miner. Mini, what is going around at the top of the leaderboard?
The top of the leaderboard, the top of the map, the North Zone. Queasy and Vino will be licking their lips. They're sat all the way up on top of the Shifty Shafts Hill and in the prime position to get Storm Surge tags. We can see Merstash and Malabuka getting themselves a supply drop as well. So that's a really good thing for them. They can have those armored walls that they give and those chug splashes from the supply drop. So perfect positioning for them. And another team that's in perfect position is, of course, Janus and Vidil. They're using the geysers to rotate to the dead side of zone, the less congested side. They're not taking any risks. They want to hold on to this top spot.
So much on the line for these players. All the top teams prepared, ready to make something happen in the last match. One of them, Seti and Cammy, that's had a great day too so far, pushing themselves up into the top 10. They're quite a ways from the top 2 or 3, but getting into the top 5, it would be an accomplishment for this duo, seeing how they performed on day 1. And for Queasy and Vino, from landing in Shifty Shafts uncontested to having the Shifty Shafts Hill and getting 3 back-to-back North zones, I'd be looking to see if they're able to dominate a high ground in this last match and make something happen.
Hey, look, it's way too early to say whether that will be possible for them, but that certainly is what they want to do, what they would have in mind. It's all about making sure all the other dominoes fall into place for them. Juriki and iDrop coming up of their victory royale, up against Nebs and Marine, it seems. 2 very good friends. But unfortunately, neither quite having the kind of finals they would have dreamed of. At least iDrop and Juriki with their victory royale have moved into that top 20. But there is still plenty of work to be done in this last game. But it could be their good friends who are the ones to put an end to their run if this fight does continue.
As it looks like it is. The splashes come through. Nebs and Marine still close by. You can see on the bottom right of the mini-map, there are some players on a hill close by. Seems like a solo too. Not taking a look though. If they see a lot of action go on, it could permit them to have that opening. But for now, the expansion comes through from iDrop, and the aggression comes through from Nebs and Marine. A 44 tag from iDrop. The Chug Splash once again coming through. He wants to stay healthy, wants to keep the shields at an all-time high. And Nebs and Marine, they're hungry being below 141. They need a big shot. A refresh would be even better as they're looking for that opening.
Nebs and Marine patiently waiting around these corners, but once they lose patience, Nebs decides to waltz his way on in, and unfortunately for Juriki, he's gone down. Nebs has also followed, and so now Marine versus iDrop, who is down to just a sliver of HP. This could be everything right now. Can iDrop hit the key shot against Marine? It's certainly going to be a hard shot to hit. Marine continuously pressuring on that box and looking to find his way, and he gets a wall. But unfortunately, there's shots coming in from all different sides and angles, and so Marine will fall. iDrop has gotten away with one here. And what a game to get away with one. Nebs and Marine fall. iDrop is still in this one. Whether or not he gets Juriki back up, I'm not sure. But they certainly will survive.
A quick gift for iDrop. But is he going to be able to use that gift to carry on forwards? The reboot will be difficult, but the possibilities there. Bevies has lost Vortexers. 7th place spot. They have a ways to go in the middle of a lake here. The drop comes in. Bevies now in a dangerous 1 versus 2. He gets coned in. He has to take another exit. He does, but is it going to be enough? 1 HP. He goes down. Another elimination on the board. QB Annie They get a nice refresh.
They put an end to the run for Bevies and Vortexes. That is heartbreaking. If they aren't able to hold on to top 10 now, that is going to be such a sad way to go down. Joensy Andy actually going down. That was the team in 4th place.
Ooh.
This is going to be a very, very interesting finish. They did so well throughout the tournament. In day 1, they looked like the top dogs. But unfortunately, day 2 just hasn't had that same fortune. And so now, Joensy Andy really at the mercy of the rest of the lobby when it comes to their position on the leaderboard. Oh dear.
From 4th place, we'll see where they drop to. But another big duo up top that's put themselves into an engagement against Cammy and Seti, 2 of the top duos. Cammy has been taken out. Pink and Anos now with an extra elimination on the board. Seti alone to play it out. He's forced to make something happen, but he wants to secure as many points as possible. Is he going to try and disengage? He has 9 shots on the grapple glove, but as he drops down, he looks for more angles. The pressure, it's on.
This is so rough. Cammy and Seti, they had such a difficult tournament run, and when things were finally starting to go in their favor, finally starting to look good, it ends in tragedy. I got scared for a second there. Pink went down, but Seti and Cammy will fall. 6th place is the most that they were able to achieve, 222 points. Unfortunately for them, I don't think that will be enough. Oh, man.
That was a tough one.
We must continue, though. We must continue. The games go on, and plenty of games to play. Malabuka and Mustache, who currently sit in 2nd with 297 points. Still lagging behind Janice and Vidil a bit. They sit at 312. So a distance to make up, but a distance that they can achieve.
Joensy Andy out of this match. Seti Cammy out of the match. Wheezy Vino still in. Malabuka Mustache still in. Pink and Anos still in, but on the borderline here as they're trying to find an entry. The grapple glove gets used, but Pink now has been cracked. The whole lobby saw that. They know that he's low. The reinforced ramp comes in, and it looks like there's not actually going to be any pressure put onto them.
Pink and Anas are looking really good right now. They obviously have 245, and they have quite the distance in order to catch up to Queasy and Veno. But they certainly can overtake what Joensy Andy were at if the cards do fall into the right place. And you can see that's going to start with moments like this, applying pressure to boxes, trying to pick up a limbs along the way.
Using that grapple glove to pick up a bit of resources. They are down to 50 builds. Could be more, especially seeing the long ways that they have to go. You can see the rotate at the bottom right. They have to go all the way to the zone. It's far. But for Queasy and Vino, they're in a great position here, high up, even with a chance of pulling that half-in, half-out zone. As now the shots from Vino. Vino day 2. Is it going to be the day where you put that crown on your head? As the momentum has to continue forwards. A great position to take some shots, do some damage. And Vino's doing a great job of doing exactly that. You can see it's paid off. 194 above. All these players that had to rotate in now, trying to find a way in, but the ones that rotated early, like Janice and Vidil, the hard work, it's getting paid off now. But it's all about this last match. Game number 12. 5th zone going to be appearing in just 35 seconds. And this zone could be the deciding factor to which duo takes it home.
This is such a big moment. So many of these players have never been in a situation this intense, and it's all congregating around the Logjam Lotus. Mustache, Malabuka, they might be starting to feel the pressure, but they can't allow themselves to. They still have such a big task on their hands. Not only do they have to come through and win the game outright, they realistically will have to get a bunch of eliminations along the way, because Janice and Vidil are still alive and kicking in this one.
Mustache hits the shot onto Tayson, cracks him. Chapix as well. No shield to work with, but Mustache, he knows that danger is close. He decides to make the push. They want to pick up that extra loot. They get it. It's Chug Splashes, it's resources. They've recuperated a lot here, but they don't want to get too aggressive. It's another full duo, full HP, full shield. They cannot get eliminated here, especially after pulling the 5th zone.
Mustache and Malibuca will profit from the loot fruit of Andalex's labor. They take that loot for free, basically. And he's even going to dip back in for more. But that could go a long, long way. That refresh could be everything they needed as we head into the latter stages of this game. For Janus and Vidil, the key is to just hold on. That's all they need to do. Hold on, stay alive. Not too many power plays here, there, and everywhere. Just staying alive will allow them to hold on to first place. 15 points separating them and second place.
I'm getting stressed out just watching this. I don't even want to imagine how Vino and Queasy are feeling right now. Nefrizzy, Lusha up above. Japco, Karma as well. A lot of duos up top. They won it. Where's that 6th zone, that first moving gonna pull? Is it gonna open up the opportunity for Queasy and Vino to not have to make a risky play to maintain the high ground? Or is it gonna pull on the opposite side and cause them to have to make a decision? As Vidil and Janus seem to see something in zone. They're looking for openings, looking for damage, but with this bird's eye view, you can see all the players boxed up, ready. The high ground team's hungry as Pink and Anas continue taking shots.
Pink and Anas, there's a lot riding on what they do in these moments here. They're looking to drop down iDrop and Juriki, and if maybe they kept spraying, the opportunity would have arisen. Both of those players not working with much iDrop on such low HP as well. I'm not sure if they realize it. If they do, that's a free limb just waiting to happen. But the priority has to be getting to zone. They cannot afford to be tunnel vision on a limbs. And so they will make their move.
Oh.
And with not many charges left in this grapple glove, they have to choose wisely.
The shots come in. If you looked above, Lusha, Nefrizzy, they did pull that zone. Queasy and Vino decided to take it later, but Queasy, he's so low, he might go down. Vino as well, down to 5 HP. Both players of the duo now one shot away. Vino goes down. It's all up to Queasy as a solo. He pops the minis. He has the grapple glove, but he has to make a rotate. It's the far zone. He gets shot. He gets eliminated out of the match. Now Vidil and Janus holding that #1 spot.
Queasy falls. There was nothing he could really do. There were so many players around him, and he didn't have the HP to rival anybody. For Vidil and Janus, though, these were some huge eliminations. Art skill will fall. That is exactly what Janus and Vidil need if they want to stay in first. This is everything right now, but they are rising to the occasion.
The eyes are Vidil. The eyes are on Vidil and Janus. Merstash, Malibuca. These two duos going head-to-head, looking to see who's going to end it with the crown as Vidil continues to tarp through. Zone pulls back to the tree. They have to go backwards if they have their top already built. This could be huge as Malibuca picks up another elimination, but he goes down as well. Merstash now, it's all up to him. He is playing alone.
Mustache has the weight of the world on his shoulders. There is no more difficult moment for any player in the game. There is never any more pressure than this, but can he handle it? There is a player knocking on his door, trying to get in his box, and he creates enough space to get away. But can he do what it takes to stay and push into first?
He keeps moving forwards. He's on the edge of the zone. He cannot go down right now. If he wants to secure this tournament, he gets an elimination. That's a few more points on the board, but Janus and Vidil, they're still up as a duo. They're still moving through these zones. More than 30 builds on Vidil. Janus as well with some. The Chug Splashes are here. Everything is on the table.
As long as Mustache keeps pushing, there remains a chance, but with Janus and Vidil doing what they do best, staying together as a compact unit, it will almost become impossible at a stage. Mustache, though, is trying everything, and he has his eyes set on Snazy. Has to move up a layer, though. Doesn't have what it takes. Needs the wood. Needs more builds. Not working with much whatsoever. The Chug Splashes gives him a bit of time to play with, but how much is time really worth to him right now? He needs the limbs, and he needs them fast, and it's not going to happen. Mustache is just down to such low HP. Will he fall? It's looking like it. That is it. He wasn't able to catch them. Vidil and Janus are riding the wave to first place.
Are they gonna be the crowned duo champions? Fortnite Chapter 3, Season 3, Janice and Vidil, they're looking strong.
Lusha, though, up above, gonna try to do everything he can to spoil the party, but with Vidil and Janice looking so strong throughout this whole tournament, let's see what they can do now when they're down to bare bones. No materials left, just their shotguns, but we know what they can do with them. Looking down now, there's opportunities there, there's players scuffed beneath them, but can they hit those shots?
They continue building forward. They have to be careful, though, as Janice connects one. He gets knocked down. Vidil now playing alone. He has that Elim, but he wants to secure as many points as possible. He wants to show the dominance of this duo. They don't want just the crown. They want to have that crown with the separation, as now, with one tick away from Vidil going down, he gets dropped below in the mud, and he continues forward. Still 1 HP on the board, just 6 shields. He is 1 shot away from going down. How long is he gonna be able to stay up? He gets a refresh. Mixon goes down. Another elimination for Vidil. Are you kidding me?
Vidil manages to do it every single time, showing us here. He's a showboat. He doesn't care. They've won the tournament, but he is now just showing why he is revered as one of the best fraggers in all of Fortnite. Continuing to hit shots as well, and eventually will fall. First place is sealed. What is left though? Thomas, Trippin, they've done everything they can to try and move up in the standings, and with Thomas and Ahmedmis left in the zone, will he be able to clutch up a couple more points for his team? That certainly will be the goal. He needs these other players to go down though. The Frizzy, Lusha in a 2v2 against Yusri and Kiduo. Can they win it out? We've not seen much of this team today, but finally now an opportunity to show.
Thomas has gone down to Storm. It is the 2 versus 2. High ground up above with that advantageous position, but they have to make something happen down below. Yusri and Kiduo are in the mud. They're getting the materials, farming up what they can. They need to find an opening, an option to go up, take the engagement, take the battle, and this could be it as Nefrizzi goes down. Lucia now is separated. He's alone. The high ground has been retaken from Yusri, Kiduo, but Kiduo gets knocked. So does Nefrizzi. It's the 1 versus 1. Lucia has to connect the shots, and he does.
Lucia and Nefrizzi will win Game 12, but the story we are all focused on right now is Janice and Vidil winning the tournament, and in impressive fashion as well. What a 12 games of Fortnite it has been. Special moments all across the board, but in the final game, not too many surprises it seems. We see High Ground coming in clutch when it mattered. Lusha did so brilliantly here in the final moment. It's hard to hold your nerve in times like these, but he did just exactly that.
Great way to finish. Every placement gets a prize, but thinking of that top half of the leaderboard, it was the Titans going head-to-head. Joe and Ziandi got knocked down early. Pink and Anas got knocked down shortly after, but the ones that were able to keep cool, to stay on top, it was Janice and Vidil.
The German Giants bring it home, and in such a spectacular way, scintillating form all season long and delivering on the biggest stage yet. It's been an absolute pleasure casting these 12 games with you, Takara. What a season it has been, and a brilliant finish. We're going to send it back to the best analysts in the game to break it all down.
Okada, thank you so much for an incredible set of games. Fantastic cast from both of you. It's done. Janice and Vidil, they are your Chapter 3, Season 3 champions. Congratulations to them. Just so well fought. Nail biters every single game. We're watching these duos in the back just saying, what's happening? Wait, is this going to happen? Is this going to unfold? Why are they taking that fight? No, go here, go there. Reese, amazing. Amazing.
Down to the last game, down to the wire. I am so impressed with Janice and Vidil's performance. That has been unbelievable. I mean, to be honest with you, Vidil himself, I'm going the wrong team, it doesn't matter. Vidil himself is so impressive through this entire season. DreamHack doing so good in both different days of the events, performing in the qualifiers and semi-finals. Wherever it is, he has come so far. And Janice, now a 3-time FNCS champion, won in solos, duos, and trios. I'm sure they're going to be happy with the cash.
I think it says a lot as well when we know that this duo, it was so unlikely for Vidil to actually win first place of this final round, but it didn't even matter. He put on a show from start to finish. We saw Janus and Vidil very early on at the start of this round. They made sure to separate from everyone. They wanted to make sure that they were rotating to that north side zone as quickly as possible. They wanted the positioning. They wanted to ensure that they weren't going to be threatened by anybody flanking them from backside or whatever. They just fully ensured. And again, it's ridiculous to me that with 6 shield, 1 HP,
it's a shot.
and a dream, that Vidil still manages to make it happen, finds an insane refresh, and just continues to hold on when he doesn't even need to.
It almost looked accidental, but I know it wasn't. Such a beautiful shot. And I think the most impressive thing that these two have done this season, I think you could put a lot of that down to the IGLing of Janus, is the fact that today, out of the 6 games, 5 of those were north zones. 5 of them. They drop Greasy Grove, south map, and they rotate completely all the way around the map and have been in a good position in 4 of those. It's really unfortunate almost that the one game that they got snuck up on earlier was the game that they ended up getting a zone on their POI.
Yeah, it probably would have been a little, over a little earlier, right?
Yeah.
That
It kept it close.
Yeah, that's fair, all right. We like to have the back and forth here, especially in these games. Just absolutely wild. And of course, I mean, I also want to give props to the duos, right? Malibuka and Merstash, they didn't necessarily come in first place, but second place, that's still quite a bit of money, and as well to be able to say, hey, look, we came in second.
Let's see.
Here is a breakdown. I mean, even talking about Queasy and Vino, right? Like, take a look at this prize money. That is absolutely insane. Sure, they didn't come first place, but to be able to be in that top 3, even people like Joe and Zandy, I'm just so excited for this duo to finally have that moment in the sun.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that all of the teams second, down till 6th, include 9th in there as well, all basically just wanted first. They didn't really care about anything else. And, I'm sure Merstash, Malibuka, some of them will look back and be like, yeah, we played well. But again, all of these people will be back again to try and claim first place. It's not enough sometimes for them.
Without a doubt, and especially, again, have to highlight Joe and Zandy here. Despite the fact that their round 12 was a little bit of a disappointment, a bit of a heartbreaker for them, even after Yusri and Kiruo were able to play spoiler against them, it still doesn't matter. I think you can feel pretty fantastic about walking away with $120,000.
I'll take it.
If they don't want it.
They don't want it. I'm just saying. I'll have it.
Man, so well fought. And just to, once again, reiterate, these lobbies are these are 50 of the best duos that EU has to offer, right? So for even any of these duos to make it in that top 10, well fought from every single one of you. I mean, how are you feeling about the whole week, the whole season?
I think it's been fantastic, of course, more than anything else. See that some of the top teams battle it out, and it's great to see a team be crowned like Vidil and Janus on top who deserve it, who've put in the hours, who've put in the practice. Similarly to Merstash, every team, the top 5 is a list of the players who basically have just put in the most work this season, and it's been reflected so nicely on the leaderboards.
Vidil especially is often regarded for his obvious passion for competing, but it really just showcases itself that when you put in as much time as they have towards scrims and everything else prep, the overnight analysis that I'm sure they had to undergo, given the fact that they had such a fantastic day 1, but you wanted to maintain that the whole way through. It's not easy to have that midway break in between a day 1 and a day 2, and they just never stepped off the gas.
And I think props given to Seti and Kami as well. I know they were higher up going into that last game. They were in 6th place, and they dropped down till 9th there, which, unfortunately, is a big chunk of money lost out on. But they were 21st, 24th in that range coming into day number 2.
Right.
Bunch of 0 elimination games repeatedly, and at least in the end, they picked up a victorial, they clutched things up a little bit, and obviously flew up into a much more respectable position. Again, similarly, it's not first. They're not going to be happy, but if you look at the score sheet through history time, now it's a single-digit placement number.
It's just something that's a little bit more indicative of what I think a lot of us tend to expect from this duo, because they have so much experience behind their names. And then not only that, but I think that they are also just a duo that understands how to perform under pressure. And granted, I guess we could say the same about any of these duos that we're looking at in this top 10 leaderboards, and even some that weren't able to make it into the top 10. But regardless of the circumstances, also have to keep in mind that Pink and Anas as well, I think that this is without a doubt probably one of the most improved duos that we've seen throughout the season.
No, not even season, the year. This is the most improved season. Now I'm throwing off. The most improved duo that we've seen throughout this entire year. It's been absolutely incredible to see their development across basically from season to season to season.
That's right. We have a great surprise for you all at home.
Woo.
We have an interview with Vidil, one of the players who just won Chapter 3, Season 3 FSCS Finals. What's going on, Badil? How you doing, brother?
I feel great. Like, it's insane. I don't know.
All right, so talk me through everything, okay? Because you come into day number 2 strong, first place, and then you end the day in first. What does this mean for you as a player?
I don't know. But, like, we just played it flawless. Like, me and Janice, we had a plan and we just did it, like, the whole time.
That's amazing.
Oh.
Okay. How do you, so here you go. You know, you're playing first, day number 1, comes into day number 2, starts off well. However, Janice gets snuck up on. He gets picked off early. What is going through your head at that moment?
Yeah, like, we screamed. Like, it's unlucky we get camped on, but we win it anyways.
That's right.
Well, it worked out.
Well,
It worked.
Was there even a point of realization, though, for you that you guys in that round 12, once you saw, did you by chance see the Elim feed and realize that, hey, we've actually got this?
Yeah, like, we saw them dying and then we just played it out flawless again.
Dude, that's so awesome. I mean, Badil, for you especially, I feel like some of the community doesn't give you the respect that you deserve, right? And now, with this win, you can officially say, no,
Yeah.
I have the Axe of Champions. I am a champion. For you and your career and moving forward, what are you hoping to gain from all this? Like, what does this mean for you? Is this just like a trophy? Are you like, I'm good? Or like, no, this is just motivating you to just go that much farther?
This is like the first time I'm playing 24/7. Like, I go sleep, then I play, and then go sleep again. Like, I did it like for 3 weeks now. And like, this is just a start, I think. So I'm trying to win the next contest as well then.
That's awesome. Does your family know? Have you told them yet what's going down?
Yeah.
Yeah? Are they excited for you? Do they understand? Are they like freaking out?
Yeah, completely.
Dude, that's so amazing. Congratulations once again to you and Janice.
Thank you.
Go out there, celebrate, raise that Axe of Champions 2.0 high. You have earned it. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, man. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congrats, buddy.
Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Man, oh man. Huge smiles, not only from Badil, but from all of us as well. And of course, we got to rejoin our in-game team. My goodness, boys. What a great show. What a great season. How do you feel at the end of it all, Minnie?
Couldn't be more happy. I feel like I've won FNCS with the happiness that I feel right now. I'm so happy for Badil and Janice, of course. As you guys mentioned, the analysts, you know, they were talking about how much work they're putting in, and finally, it has paid off. We talked a lot about Janice being quite an emotional player in previous seasons, but today, they pulled it back. Even after a bad start in game number 1 of 12, they have done it, and I couldn't be more happy for them. A little bit of a bumpy road for them, but couldn't be more happy.
It's been incredible, though. So much has happened throughout this FNCS, from Tayson and Chapix being contested every single game to Malibuka's solo clutches, Ziandy's 1 versus 3. There's been highlights that I'm never going to forget in this FNCS, and it's been a pleasure. It's been exciting. I mean, I'm speechless.
Honestly, I'm just happy seeing that excitement about it, man. It's been such a fun ride. Of course, again, congrats to Janice and Badil cashing in on them scrim bucks, baby. That's what you want. Honestly, I think going into further competitions, I'm really interested to see if they can keep this level, because we know how hard they've worked, and we've seen teams in the past maybe not quite keep, you know, that level after they hit their high. But hopefully this is far from their peak. Hopefully this is just the standard for these guys now.
That's right. I'm sure they're thinking ahead, right? FNCS Invitational, we get ourselves a win. Now we look to compete there in person. If they get a win there, man, like, dude, that's it. Hats off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Of course, they've done well on in-person events already. They've done well online. If, like you mentioned, keeping up that practice, keeping up the grind is what a lot of players struggle with after a win. The motivation sometimes tanks. So if they can keep that up, man, I don't think we're going to be watching something really impressive.
That's right. We have to wrap this up with predictions. So across the season, we like to kind of play the same prediction game, you know, see how things go. And at the end of it all, we give away a prize. Who is prediction royalty? Let's take a look at the results of how all this has gone in the very end of it all. 11-2K!
Wow.
You are
Congrats.
prediction royalty, my boy. Bask in the glow. But, you know, the thing is, Reese, you were also last champion.
I was indeed.
And so we
like-
thought it was only fitting to make you immortalize you forever in part of this award. So, Reese, I'm just going to show you real quick. You know, there you go. So, for you guys at home, 11-2K is prediction royalty. You got himself a little resub there. It's the biggest brain time. And, of course, great minds think alike. Congratulations, 11-2K. Prediction royalty.
It means so much to me. I didn't think I had what it took, but I've really worked hard for this. I'm happy. I'd like to thank my mother. All thanks to her. I'd like to thank Reese Hub for just not being up to the mark this season. You know?
Yeah, I had to throw just to give you a chance.
Yeah, he wasn't quite there. But yeah, I'm gonna hang this up in my room. It's a great day for 11-2K, and Levin's on fire. Mini-Mine is terrified. I could go on for ages. Someone's probably going to have to cut off my mic soon.
I got you.
Let's do that quickly.
Yeah, let's do that quickly. Once again,
Oscars music.
Thank y'all so much for being a huge part of this. A fantastic way to close out the entire season. Janice, Fadil, once again, to you, congratulations. New FNCS champions. But don't forget, we have N8 East coming up not that long from now. More champions to be crowned there as well. Until next time, the Invitational, we love y'all. Keep yourself safe. And we'll see you on the Battle Bus.
Beep, beep.